This week,
we review the most recent chapter of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain America: Brave New World.
We chit-chat about the return of HBO's The Last of Us with Season 2, as well as the potential for the show to run for only 4 seasons.
And we take a deep dive into the much-anticipated true beginning of James Gunn's DC Universe with the Superman movie, while analyzing the DC Cinematic Universe's rocky history of starts and stops as it tries to begin anew with its latest chapter. My name is Simon Eady.
And I'm Adrian Pinter. Welcome to Split Focus, a film and TV podcast, episode 104.
Can you do the welcome part again? Because there was a squeaking noise.
Yeah, I know my chair. It was my chair. I'm sorry. I noticed that as well. I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst timing. I shouldn't have moved my chair.
Do it again.
Welcome to Split Focus, a film and TV podcast, episode 104.
Hello there, sir. Hello there.
Howdy.
How are you?
Howdy. Oh, dude.
How are you? You're in the void, dude.
I am, man.
You're literally in the great beyond.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
looking at you here, and your walls are very white.
I'm in macro data refinement.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not just macro data refinement, but that whole severed floor of Lumen that is a big white hallwayed place. In fact, macro data refinement is kind of green in many senses. Is that like AstroTurf that they're... No, I don't think so.
I don't even know what AstroTurf is. I'll be honest with you.
It's not like fake... Wait, maybe I don't know what it is. Isn't it fake grass? Isn't it like the plastic grass?
Oh, it might be. Turf is grass, like fake grass. So maybe... Is AstroTurf like a brand?
Hold on. AstroTurf. AstroTurf is the leader in synthetic turf. Oh, it's like Kleenex. Wow, we're learning a lot. We're learning a lot, and we're only a minute in.
Oh.
Look at us go.
Yeah, look at us.
But Adrian, it's episode 104. Tell me, how was your week / 2 weeks / day?
Brother. It's been good, man. Obviously, I mean, we saw each other outside of our recording session, but as you know, I moved into my humble new home.
Yeah.
With my fiancée, set up this office area on the severed floor,
right?
Ready to record. And I kind of already messed up the joke, but I don't remember anything outside of us recording. The only thing I remember, because this is my innie talking. This is Adrian Innie, and I only remember us recording these episodes.
I see. So you're bringing it back. You're bringing it back to the joke of we don't talk outside this podcast because you can't have possibly talked to me outside of this podcast because the innie is the only one who's talked to me inside this podcast.
Exactly.
Huh.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. What a joke.
Bringing the joke back with layers, man. Layers.
That was a bit that we ran that I'm not sure is good, but regardless of that, that we ran for, I think, 100 episodes straight of Split Focus, a film and TV podcast, which is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
It's pretty good.
It got pretty old,
pretty good,
I think, in the first 5 episodes, but hey. What?
But then eventually, like New Zealand humor, you keep it going long enough, it becomes funny again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's possibly true. Yeah. The house move was good then?
How are you? Oh, yeah, it was, man. I guess I was talking about that. Yeah, the house move was good. It was busy. So, there was a lot of moving, obviously. Moved a bunch of boxes like throughout the week because we got the keys on the Monday, but we did like kind of the official move in on the Friday where we rented a truck at a U-Haul. I was being super conscious of my back, right? I'm getting old. I'm the ripe old age of 30, and I was worried about pulling my back.
Yeah.
Right.
So
moving all these boxes, U-Haul, all that back. Obviously, it's a little sore. Legs were sore. I was lifting with my legs, as you should when you're carrying, large boxes and objects. And I was moved in, and I'm like, you know what? I made it. No back issues.
Good.
Nothing.
Excellent.
And then
Oh.
I took a shower, Simon.
Ah.
And I stepped out of the shower. And I'm not even joking. And when I stepped out of the shower, I stepped on the towel. And that towel moved a centimeter. Just like a centimeter. But that 1 centimeter was enough for my back to tweak.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I finished moving. I finished shoveling my driveway because we had brutal snow here in the Canada.
Oh, it's been crazy.
My back just
cold,
tensed up.
Really cold, and lots of snow. It's been a weird couple of weeks. A strange winter, one might say.
I spilled water on me.
I saw that.
Yeah.
You spilled, I saw.
Yeah. But, you know, back was tweaked. It's feeling okay today, though, thankfully. Just came from a friend's child's birthday, their 4th birthday.
You told me that we were recording at 8 p.m. today because of you going to your friend's child's birthday. And I have to say, I'm not sure there's anything that I would not want to do more. I'm not sure, but going to a friend's child's birthday is something specific. It's
nice.
Is that fun? Was it fun?
It was.
Okay.
So like this friend is like a childhood friend. Like they're a couple years older than me, family friend. They've known me since I was literally a baby, and I've known them since we were kids. So we grew up together, and it's like their child. And you know, her 4-year-old daughter's birthday was technically not today. I think it's in a couple days.
Okay.
I think it's on the 26th,
right.
But again, it's the weekend, so they had the party. So it's cool. It's like I'm like an uncle
to
this child,
okay.
not biological.
Oh, I thought. Okay, well that's fair. I thought it was more like, you know, you're just invited to some friend's child's birthday.
Oh no, I don't want to fucking go to that, dude.
Well, I don't
like,
know. If you're like
family.
an uncle, that's a bit different. Okay, I okay. Yeah. So it was good, enjoyable. You keep taking swigs of water at very inopportune moments. I'm asking you about your friend's child's birthday. Okay, you need to cool it on the water sips.
I gotta beat it. I'm sorry. I'm thirsty, dude.
Yeah.
I'm thirsty. But my fiance Cassandra and I, we always nail it with the gifts. You know, we always nail it with the gifts for these kids. So we're the cool aunt and uncle, and I always sign the card, "Your coolest aunt and uncle."
Oh yeah.
Cassandra and Adrian. Which, to be fair, that child has multiple aunts and uncles, quite a few. But again, I'm the coolest. We're the coolest.
Of course.
We're the coolest couple. But yeah, we nail it with the gifts. This year's theme was unicorns. Oh. She's very obsessed with unicorns. So got her a nice unicorn necklace, a unicorn bracelet, a unicorn earrings, and then a rainbow wallet. It's cool, man. Nailed it.
Lots of unicorns.
But anyways, enough about me and this child's birthday. Yeah, they had a full-on unicorn cake, dude.
Cool.
Like with a fondant horn.
Yeah.
The horn was made out of fondant. And the little child, she was like so stoked about this. She loves unicorns. And she literally like pulled the unicorn horn out and was just eating the fondant.
Nice.
I'm like, that can't taste good, dude. That can't.
Yeah.
But she was enjoying it.
Fondant's pretty sweet, isn't it? Yeah. It's got a sweet taste. It's got some sugar in it.
I feel like it's like sugar Play-Doh.
Basically. But yeah, it doesn't taste like Play-Doh.
Yeah. I hope not.
Yeah.
Play-Doh's not necessarily
non-toxic. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Speaking
is Play-Doh toxic? I feel like Play-Doh's not toxic.
Sorry. I guess it tastes not terrible. Is the better. I can't imagine Play-Doh tastes good at all. It's kind of what I'm saying. But you're probably right. Play-Doh is probably non-toxic to save the children. Yeah. But yeah. Speaking of unicorns, we didn't talk about this movie. I forgot that this movie's coming out. Death of a Unicorn. Did you see the trailer for this?
Mm-hmm.
That looks pretty good.
I did. With
A24.
Jenna Ortega, Paul
Rudd. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's got a good cast. I'm very intrigued by it. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like a fun, like, horror comedy.
Yeah.
In the vein of Companion.
Oh dear.
Which you don't like.
Oh dear. It's fine. I don't not like Companion. I just have very mixed feelings on it. You know? I gave it a 3 out of 5 at your request, okay? I wouldn't just do that for any reason. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy.
But how are you, man? What's new with you, man? How are you?
I'm fine.
What's good?
It's just the same old stuff. Going to work, coming home, doing this podcast on occasion. That's pretty much it.
Bi-weekly.
I did discover going to work though the other day because I work at retail. I work in a retail adjacent job that I like service stores, like retail stores. I was in the mall one of the malls, the Waterloo Conestoga Mall, specifically in Canada, in Waterloo, in Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered they shut down Cinnabon recently.
Dude,
How
I know.
terrible is that?
It's not. Yeah, man. They shut that down like in the summer.
I know.
Because I found that out, and I was very, very disappointed. It's not like I got Cinnabon like every fucking week, dude, but at least like once every quarter.
Yeah.
Every fiscal quarter.
I didn't know you love Cinnabon as well. I love Cinnabon. It's great. And the thing about Cinnabon, though,
doesn't.
It's Better Call Saul that it really re-upped the vibe of Cinnabon for me. Like, it just really lit the flame for Cinnabon. Like, I feel like the beginning of every season of Better Call Saul, it really just, man, what an advertisement for Cinnabon.
I feel like we talked about this. Didn't you literally buy Cinnabon for every premiere of Better Call Saul?
I did, yeah. I think it was a coincidence because I watched the first season and then I had my phone broke, and that's the nearest Apple store. So I went to that Apple store to have my phone fixed. I don't know if I told this story where I was driving and I was driving with my phone and the GPS was broken, but I'm incredibly reliant on GPS. And at the time, I definitely wouldn't know how to get to Waterloo from my house in Guelph. And it's like a 40-minute trip. And so I was driving along these country roads because, of course, the initial GPS like track from Wi-Fi from my house, it told me to drive like on these back roads for some stupid reason instead of driving on like the main highways. So I'm driving along this like where I'm like, where am I? I literally didn't know where I was. And the GPS is like pinging me into the field. Like it thought I was like everywhere. It's like, oh no, I don't know how I'm going to get there. It took me 2.5 hours to do this 40-minute journey. And there was no traffic. I literally just got really lost. That's how stupidly reliant on GPS I am. I am directionally challenged to the maximum. It is embarrassing actually. But regardless of that, I finally got myself to Waterloo Conestoga Mall. And I bought myself Cinnabon as a treat after spending 5 hours trying to get there and back just to fix my phone. And then they replaced my phone, thankfully, at the Apple store. But I picked Cinnabon on the way back home. And then I played Better Call Saul season 2. And then every other season after that, I either made Cinnabon using like the Pillsbury, canned Cinnabons, the cinnamon buns.
That's a thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, that's not Cinnabon.
It is. There's a Cinnabon flavored version of it with the same kind of cream cheese icing. I definitely recommend that if you didn't even know about that. It's definitely worth trying. I did. There's one that's like very flaky, very similar to the Cinnabon stylings. It's worth it. But yeah.
Sounds good.
Anyway, man.
That sounds good. Dude, on the topic of food, I know we're 12 minutes in. We talk about film and TV here, but
that's right. Sometimes
we talked about the Jersey Mike's, how it opened up in Guelph.
Yeah.
Right. But one thing that you didn't tell me is that it replaced the Burgers Priest.
Oh, you didn't know it was gone?
The Burgers Priest is gone.
Oh
no!
Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. I was dealing with this for a year. That was closed down for so long. Yeah.
Oh,
it sucks.
I didn't realize it was closed down for.
They claimed it was going to be moved, but then it never moved. You just didn't live in Guelph for a while, so I guess I just didn't think it was relevant. But there's not many Burgers Priest around. Burgers Priest was probably my favorite burgers joint in Guelph. Actually, no, that's not true. The Works is really excellent, but I really liked Burgers Priest. I really like it.
Do you want to go to the Works soon?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay,
let's plan dinner now.
Go to the Works soon. I love the Works.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm so sorry.
It bums it. They only have the Waterloo location. I didn't realize they closed it down. But to be fair, that's probably why they closed it. I just never went.
Right. Yeah, I guess it wasn't doing as well as it should have been. It's strange though. Like we talk about the cutting board. There's that sandwich shop that was in Guelph. It was like a private, independently owned shop made by this like chef who worked for like this big restaurant and then went back there after it closed. But the cutting board just made delicious sandwiches, as you and I can attest. I used to go there 3 times a week, which was kind of embarrassing. At the end of it, when he was closing down, it was the final week, and the shopkeep, the chef dude, the guy who owned it, was like, "What are you going to do now for food?" And he kind of said it earnestly. And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know." But yeah, that place was excellent. But I always thought it was buzzing. Like I always thought there was a lot of people going in there and getting sandwiches, and I thought it would do well. I just didn't know it was going to shut down. It felt like the same thing for Burgers Priest. I always thought, why would the Burgers Priest ever shut down? There was like sometimes lineups when I got there. I guess it just didn't quite sell enough. I think that mall that it's a part of, like the Jersey Mike's now placed that shop front there, I think that mall is expensive for rent. I think that might be
probably
why. But
anyway. That Jersey Mike's was packed today. I didn't go in it, but like I drove past it because we went to the mall and it was full. But talking about the cutting board again, we're just rambling here. But our mutual friend Ryan, so I went to, the Graffiti Market restaurant in Waterloo.
I do not.
This is so like inside baseball.
I don't know that.
If you're not from around here, none of this.
I
fucking
also
matters.
don't know it though. But yeah.
Okay. There's a restaurant called Graffiti Market, and their specialty is Detroit pizzas. It's actually really good. But our friend Ryan, who worked with us at Best Buy when we worked there, that also went to the cutting board quite frequently. Not as frequent as you, or even me. I didn't go even half as much as you, but I still went like a decent amount.
Yeah.
He says that the Graffiti Market, they have some sandwiches and burgers on their menu that he's like, it's not the same, but it reminds me of the cutting board.
Okay.
I'm like, oh,
interesting.
So maybe we could go there for dinner instead of the work just to try it out.
Sure. Sounds good. If anyone was tuning into this for the first time, this episode of Split Focus, they might be thinking this is a food recommendation podcast for specific towns in southwestern Ontario.
It's the Tri-City Market in Guelph.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that spiky hair guy on TV. What's his name?
Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII.
Now, you know who I'm talking about. Give me some credibility. Spiky hair guy who recommends food places.
Guy Fieri,
Guy Fieri,
dude.
thank God. That is a TV reference, and I didn't get that right. But I got Cutting Board, Cinnabon, and Jersey Mike's as recommendations. Anyway, okay, Adrian, I think it's time to move on to Ken's Corner, because Ken actually came back for an email again. He actually wrote into us once again. Kenneth Saddlebauer, for those who do not know, is a longtime listener of our show, Split Focus, a film and TV podcast, and he writes in on occasion, and I've given him a special segment called Ken's Corner.
Ken's Cool Corner.
No, we're not doing 3Ks, because the corner is spelled with a K. Just for fun. So Ken's Corner.
KCK.
All right. That's too risky for me. Anyway, Ken wrote into us and he said, I've always thought myself more of a Sebastian than an Ariel, but thanks for making me part of your... Did you hear that?
I heard a bonk.
Yeah.
What was that?
I think it was my fiance, but I think she dropped her phone for the third time in a row in the last hour. She's dropped her phone at least 3 times. Anyway, sorry, Ken. No, let's get back
KCK. Just real quick aside, since we had a break here.
Are you okay?
When I Google KCK, that's okay. Kansas City.
She's okay. Sorry.
Okay, thank goodness. Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay.
That's what KCK stands for.
Okay, so nothing controversial.
No.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The idea was that it was the sort
also
of
the Kurdistan community
corner with 2 Ks. Anyway, let's get into what he wrote into us here. Let's stay focused, or maybe be focused for 1 second, because so far we haven't been focused. But anyways, I've always thought myself more of a Sebastian than an Ariel, he says. But thanks for making me part of your world. Adrian, he's talking to you. And then
I understand that reference.
And he continues. The top 5 anticipated movies for me this year are Captain Falcon and Scarlet Indy, Lilo and Stitch, Fantastic Four First Steps. The trailer looks fun, he says. Superman.
I agree.
And Jurassic World Rebirth. Rawr. He has there in brackets. Honorable mentions to Frankenstein from Guillermo del Toro and Snow White, the live action one, I'm assuming he means. There are more that look interesting, but I feel like I don't really need the theatrical experience. For my most anticipated series, we have Alien Earth, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I love so far, Daredevil, Born Again, Marvel Zombies, and Wonder Man. Yes, I realize that these are all on the same streaming service and are mostly comic book shows. Maybe not everyone's grande soy caramel low-fat double espresso, but I think they all have potential. Signed, Kenneth. So the reason why Kenneth is giving us his top 5 movies and top 5 shows is because we talked about that on the first episode of our podcast. And then we threw out the question to Ken to see what his most anticipated movies and TV shows might be. And he gave us 5 of both, which is interesting because we didn't even get that many together. But regardless of that, yeah, anything stand out to you as something that's interesting that you were also excited for that we didn't mention actually on our episode 101 of Split Focus?
Yeah, the Lilo and Stitch remake, actually, like the live action remake. I really like the Lilo and Stitch movies, and I loved the Lilo and Stitch TV show.
Cool.
Loved it.
Nice.
It was like a monster of the week, essentially. And yeah, I don't know. It looks really good from the trailers. Like the design of Stitch is fantastic. I'm very curious how it's going to play out. That's actually like a Disney live action remake. I'm definitely going to want to go see in the theaters.
Okay.
Looks really fun. I really like it.
Cool.
Do you like Lilo and Stitch? What's your history?
I do like it as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the line again?
Ohana means family.
Ohana means
and
family.
Family means nobody. Family means nobody gets left behind.
It's not bad.
That's really good, actually. That was actually a solid one. Yeah.
That's an impression I haven't whipped out in probably at least 20 years, I feel like. But anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You want to hear mine?
Sure.
Ohana means a family. Family means nobody gets left behind.
Whoa, that's your Christopher Walken impression.
No, dude, that's so different from my Christopher Walken impression.
All right. Okay, well, I appreciate Ken writing into us. Ken was also with us at the movies when we went to see a specific movie that we're going to get into. We watched the Captain America 4 movie, or as he calls it, Captain Falcon and Scarlet Indy. He wrote this email before we saw the movie, to be clear, so that it doesn't seem like he's anticipating something he's already watched. But we did go see it with him. And it'll be interesting to talk to you about it, Adrian. I would like to do a closer look for Captain America 4, if you're good with that. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Your eyes lit up there. Let's do that. Just because a closer look basically is a kind of a sub segment of our show. It's basically a split off episode that gets into spoilers. Split Focus, a film and TV podcast. Main episodes that are numbered, are not spoiler heavy. They don't have any spoilers really in them at all. And so a closer look is an opportunity for us to talk about spoilers as a spoiler discussion, a review discussion, essentially. The closer look will have the first half non-spoilers, the last half spoilers, essentially. But the first half will always be featured on our show. So in this case, episode 104 will feature the non-spoiler review for Captain America 4, which I again am excited to talk to you about in a short time here. But before we do that, Adrian, I like that you brought up Lilo and Stitch, and I like that Kenneth brought up Lilo and Stitch, because I want to bring it up in a moment. But before I get to that, and it's going to be related to what I'm going to talk about right now, I swear, are you a Super Bowl guy at all? I don't know. Would you ever watch the Super Bowl? Have you ever had a Super Bowl party? Have you ever been invited and gone to a Super Bowl party? Do you have any inkling of interest in the Super Bowl?
No, I'm just not much of a sports guy. I don't hate it by any means. If you like it, that's cool. It's just never been.
But people who don't like sports sometimes still watch the Super Bowl. That's why I'm asking that question. I didn't watch the Super Bowl at all. I'm just curious. I never knew that about you, so I was just curious if you. Yeah, I knew you weren't a sports guy.
The only sports stuff I watch, and this is actually a recent thing, is I watch UFC actually quite consistently now.
Oh wow. Consistently.
I don't know really. Yeah, every title card, as they call it, which is at least once a month.
That's cool.
So I've been watching that quite consistently. It's fun, dude. It's so hyper violent. It's these people just beating the shit out of each other. I couldn't care less who wins or loses. I just want to see the violence. I'll be honest with you, but it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
I asked about the Super Bowl because obviously the Super Bowl happened. Now it's 2 weeks ago. But regardless of that, it's related in that there's so many Super Bowl trailers, movie trailers, typically during the commercials. The commercials are crazy. In general, there were actually some pretty awesome commercials, and there usually are. But trailers wise, there were quite a few trailers. I'm just going to list them off here, and then you just throw out your thoughts about the ones you've seen, if that works. We saw a trailer for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which I call the aspect ratio trailer. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you saw that version of the Final Reckoning trailer, but there's also Novocaine starring Jack Quaid. We had Lilo and Stitch, which was a very kind of breaks the fourth wall trailer, which I thought was really cool.
Mhm.
Jurassic World Rebirth.
It was cute.
Was kind of a rehash of the trailer we just saw recently. Director of Top Gun Maverick, Joseph Krasinski's F1 trailer starring Brad Pitt, which looks pretty great, and that trailer was awesome. How to Train Your Dragon, and then there was a Thunderbolts new trailer, which honestly, that was their best. Actually, Thunderbolts has had really good trailers all the way through. I hope it's not going to become a Suicide Squad situation, like a David Ayer's Suicide Squad situation, because Thunderbolts looks really great, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe's next film after Captain America 4. But yeah, anything specifically pop out to you is very intriguing from the trailers that we saw at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Thunderbolts right now, so I may as well, stay on it. I thought this trailer was really good, but I feel like it almost spoils a little bit too much, man. I feel like, I mean, they show us the villain, they show us kind of the plot of the movie.
Did they show us the villain? I don't think so.
Yeah,
just show the villain's arm.
They didn't. Well, we don't see his face, but we know what he is.
Do we? He's a human?
Yeah. He's like a Superman looking guy. And he's also a Void looking guy with shadows. I think it's either two or it's one guy that's two people. So like we know kind of what he is. And I feel like the trailer all but confirms the death of one of the characters that probably is going to happen fairly early on in the movie, which is a little disappointing.
I think you said that to me in the theater when we saw the trailer, like for just before Captain
You don't
America.
Agree?
No, because it could mean anything. It could just mean that the person's not in it very much, or they're for other reasons. They could have been captured. Adventure. They could be on a rescue mission to save this person. There could be many reasons this is the case.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're talking vaguely about it. It's not spoilers. It's literally the trailer. So that like they show the cast of characters. Right. They have like Ghost. They have Taskmaster. They have David Harbour. They have other Black Widow, Yelena. They have Bucky. All these characters, right. And there's multiple scenes where the team is together, but Taskmaster is just not there in any of those scenes. She's in like one brief point in the trailer, so I'm assuming that she's probably offed early in the movie,
maybe
as like kind of a oh my god, maybe. this is a crazy thing, which I feel like is kind of a disappointing, underutilized character, because I think you can do a lot of cool stuff with Taskmaster.
Maybe Taskmaster becomes the villain again.
Yeah,
there's so many options. I think I don't know.
There is.
You might be right, though. You might be right. Is. But I also point out what I pointed out in the theater when we saw the trailer together before Captain America 4. I'll also say that Marvel has a history of like kind of obfuscating the facts with their trailers. Like if you remember Avengers Endgame, there's a shot of Hulk running across the fields in Wakanda.
Infinity War, yeah.
Infinity War, right. And so, like, there's multiple moments they kind of put like little. I don't know if they're on purposely misleading or they changed their mind, and they created that CG. Because imagine how much work that would have been to make a CG Hulk running across a field with numerous other people. It seems like almost like a waste of money. But they do that over at Marvel. So I wonder if they could have just been misleading on purpose. But maybe Taskmaster bites the bullet quick. Well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
I am very interested in Thunderbolts.
But it does look great.
It does look good, and it reminds me, because the trailers are so good. It does remind me of Suicide Squad, because it's a team up movie, a bunch of misfits, a bunch of characters that nobody really cares about that much. I think David Harbour looks like he's so good in that role. What's his name? Crimson
Red Guardian.
Red Guardian, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm interested. The Lilo and Stitch trailer, moving on to a different trailer, was quite good in that it, like, again, I watched like all the trailers in a row, and they started with that one, and I thought initially that was just a feed from the football game, the American football game, but it's not. It's just literally a trailer with Lilo and Stitch driving some kind of a field car across the football field. But yeah, I like that trailer. I thought it was really clever and a really good idea, and I'm curious I'm curious how well that this movie will do. I guess all of these live action Disney movies have done well, right? Like pretty much. Like even though some of them are not
Yeah,
great.
like even the most recent Lion King one, that's not really a remake, it's the prequel to Lion King. I think that still made a good chunk of change, and I feel like no one was talking about it.
It was
Like,
reviewed badly, right? Like really badly. There's a Barry Jenkins
I don't
reviewed
know.
movie. Oh, sorry, directed movie. Let me see.
Was it poorly reviewed? I actually didn't really look into it. I just didn't care too much about it.
Yeah, I looked into it initially. It's 57% on Rotten Tomatoes. But the popcorn meter is high, so it's 89% for audience score, which to me it means less and less as the years go on. But anyway, regardless of that, it's kind of an interesting gauge. But yeah, 57%, not too high. I wonder if Kenneth saw that because he loves the Disney movies. Curious, but yeah. Any other trailers stick out to you?
Yeah. I mean, we already kind of talked about the Jurassic World Rebirth trailer. Like what?
It's almost the same
2
one.
weeks
really.
ago. It's identical.
The Final Reckoning Mission Impossible trailer looked awesome. The use of the aspect ratio of making the screen larger as it went like smaller and smaller letterboxing. I thought that was awesome. I thought it looked great. And I think F1 looks great too. Did you see the F1 trailer?
F1. No, I didn't actually.
That is worth seeing.
Any good?
They use their time wisely in that. The interesting thing about the Thunderbolts trailer is I think it's the longest trailer by far out of everything we just mentioned. They're mostly like 30 seconds to a minute. And Thunderbolts is a full-on like trailer, I'm pretty sure. Unless they only played like some of it, and then I didn't watch the Super Bowl either, to be fair. I asked you that question, but I don't know. I like the Super Bowl to some extent. There's like a fervor over it. I think it was like a record number of viewers this year. But
oh really?
It's a pretty boring Super Bowl from my understanding though, because one team just got trounced. So does it like Kansas City Chiefs were thought to be going for the three-peat, and then they just got wrecked. So I'm glad I didn't watch it this year. But anyway, okay. All right, man. Well, okay. Well, let's move on to another bit of quick bite news here. Did you see that set photo? I suppose it was a set photo for Matt Damon, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey movie. We haven't talked about this yet. Christopher Nolan's next big movie is The Odyssey. He's doing basically Homer's Greek poem as a movie, which is interesting because I don't know if that's been done before. Maybe I'm wrong, or at least in this kind of a blockbuster way. Yeah, thank you for showing it on screen to me. The audience will see that though, because this is audio. But yeah, that is the one. Yeah, looks cool, doesn't it? He's playing Odysseus, which I think is really neat. That cast is stacked. You know about the cast, right? Did you see anything about this film yet?
Yeah, Tom Holland, Zendaya.
He's reading them.
Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, correct. I think is also in it.
It's like I'm quizzing you here.
Yeah, dude. Is Cillian Murphy in it? Pardon me?
No, Cillian Murphy's not in it. Not that I know of. Maybe he'll show up. Maybe he'll show up. Maybe he'll pull a Gary Oldman.
Ooh.
But
let's see.
We got Anne Hathaway as well. Charlize Theron.
Oh yeah.
John Bernthal, Benny Safdie, who was also in Oppenheimer. I think that was the first movie that Benny Safdie was in of Nolan's. We got John Leguizamo. Oh man, how do you pronounce it? I should know that. Leguizamo, yeah. And then Elliot Page is back in a Nolan movie as well, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Inception.
Is Mia Goth in this as well?
Mia Goth is in it as well. Yeah.
Holy shit!
It's a crazy stacked cast. He's got Ludwig Göransson coming back for the score as well, which is cool. Göransson did the Oppenheimer score and Tenet, I believe. But yeah, it's stacked. It looks great. I'm curious how it's going to translate. I wonder if there's going to be any kind of tricks. He does these VFX tricks typically in his movies, or he does these kind of science fiction type tricks. The way he shoots movies. Oppenheimer didn't do. Oh no, it did. Oppenheimer did a certain narrative trick because it did the two perspectives. He's always got these little things going on, these little twists and turns, whether it be the way the story is told or just the plot has various twists in it. I just love that about Nolan. I'm curious about whether this is going to be more of a straightforward movie, but that's exactly what I said before seeing Oppenheimer. So I'm curious if that's going to be the case here. So I am very excited about
I think his most straightforward movie is probably Tenet, I would say. at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's crazy how people were. It was so confused. That movie was confusing in some capacity, but I like that it's confusing. It was. I really like Tenet. I have to say. I don't know.
Tenet.
Yeah, Tenet. Sure.
Yeah. That was a movie where the first time we watched, because we watched that like within a couple days of one another, like twice.
Yeah.
And I remember we watched it the first time, and I was leaving, and I was like, I think I literally turned to you. And I was like, I think I'm too dumb for this movie. I was like, I have no idea what this was about or what happened. And then we watched it a couple days later. I'm like, oh, because I had all the context. Tenet is one of the few movies where I genuinely believe you should watch twice.
The Prestige is another one. Speaking of Christopher Nolan, definitely watch The Prestige that's a good twice. One. But I agree. Yeah, it's pretty.
I love that movie.
Pretty neat. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm very curious. This is supposed to come out in 2026. It's supposed to come out, from my understanding, a week or 2 weeks before the next Spider-Man movie comes out as well. The Spider-Man movie just got moved back a little bit. So like Tom Holland's got 2 movies coming out within like very short spans of time.
2 weeks.
Which is cool. But anyway. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But the last little bit of quick bite news, Adrian, that I'd like to talk about here is something I know you're excited about. First of all, actually, a bit of news came out. An HBO executive said that they believe that the Last of Us series on HBO will run for 4 seasons in total. But before I get your opinion on that, they also announced shortly after that, it was a press release or another trailer. They said that it was the official premiere date, although we knew it was in April for season 2 of The Last of Us, is now April 13th at 9 p.m. and it will air for 7 episodes. But yeah, any thoughts about that? I know you're one of the biggest I was going to say HBO fans, or you are, but you're one of the biggest Last of Us fans that I know. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is exciting. I'm very curious about this because as much as I love the first season of The Last of Us, I think as someone that played the game, I do feel like the relationship, specifically between Ellie and Joel, felt rushed, knowing the context of the video game and how much longer that story and their relationship plays out. And I think what the first season of The Last of Us does best are the things that it does differently from the game. Specifically the 3rd episode in season 1, right. The Bill storyline, right? Bill and Frank. And it's one of the most beautiful episodes of television ever. I think it's phenomenal. So it's interesting to see, because Last of Us Part 2 is dramatically longer than the first game. It's probably twice the length, maybe not a full 2 times the length, but it is quite a bit longer. So it's interesting to see that. I'm assuming the 3 seasons coming up are all going to be about Last of Us Part 2, the game. So
you think
it's cool to see that it.
No.
Again, this is an assumption.
I don't think so.
You think they're going to go past the game? Or do you think they're going to do like prequel stuff? You think they're going to fill in the gap? Like, what's your perception of this? Because what I was going to say is I find it interesting that they're going to really slow down Part 2 and actually stretch it out for 3 seasons versus the first game where they just kind of crammed it into 1. So what's your perspective on this? I'm actually curious.
It's interesting. So I do believe they're spreading out Part 2, the video game, The Last of Us Part 2, PlayStation video game of famous renown and infamous in many circles. Unfortunately, despite its incredible narrative. But I think that the 3rd season will be something else. The thing is that, so the first season of The Last of Us on HBO aired in 2022, correct? 2023.
No. Yeah,
2023. Yes.
Yeah.
Not last year, but the year before. And so we
Correct.
Now waited 2 years for this season. There is, according to Neil Druckmann, who directs the show and is an executive producer on the show and some episodes of the show for the directing part. And he obviously created the games. He's claimed that The Last of Us Part 3 is coming, that they have an idea for it and they're making that game. Now, Naughty Dog, the name of his studio, is currently making Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet first. So there's probably 3 years before that game's done. Maybe 2 years. Let's be cautiously optimistic and say it's coming out in 2026, like the end of it.
Yeah, mid next year.
That'd be crazy. Imagine that happens. So that happens.
I would love that.
Then the next game would take 5 years to make. Theoretically. The Last of Us Part 3 would be their next game. So 2026 plus 5 is
2031.
2030, 2031. Maybe they can get it done faster. Who knows? Maybe they're already working on it right now. Maybe there's a splinter team in the Naughty Dog kennel, as they call it, working on it at the same time. That would be cool. And then maybe it's done sooner. Let's say it's 2030. But then if you do a 2-year gap for each season, or even increase that to 3 and pull a severance, then perhaps there's a chance that season 3, because it seems like there's going to be a part 3. Wouldn't it be ridiculous if the last season of The Last of Us on HBO comes out, season 4, and then the next game comes out a year after that? That seems like so stupid. That's kind of my thought process. So that's why I think they're going to do one last season that covers part 3. Or they'll do 5 seasons. But I do believe that you're correct in that. It's very likely that this part 2 will be at least 2 seasons. 7 episodes is way too short to fill the whole plot line of part 2, because part 2 is like double the size of part 1, like in terms of the video games themselves. So that's kind of where my feeling's at. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just curious about the controversy of the game and how it will translate to a TV show. I'm also curious about Caitlin Dever. People are like freaking out because they saw a picture of her, and Caitlin Dever plays a character named Abby, and Abby is very buff in the game. She's got very big muscles because she's living in this apocalypse, and she's like, she's the opposite of Ellie in a lot of ways in the video game. She's like, whereas Ellie's kind of more slender. And so that's cool. And I feel like, and Neil addressed that and said that he thought that Caitlin Dever she doesn't need to be as big in the show because it's just not the way that our story is being told. In the game, you're playing that character and she's very assuming, she's very large because of the contrast, and because there's a lot more gameplay in the way that it's a game. So
he wanted to define differences between Ellie and Abby's gameplay styles in Last of Us Part 2. So
but and that you see because both anyway, the point is,
so
what's up?
Sorry, finish your point. I don't want to interrupt you. I apologize.
But I don't know. That's my point is, the people are getting upset because she doesn't look too large enough. But people are upset about everything at any given time. So maybe that doesn't mean anything. Caitlin Dever's a great actor in everything that I've seen her in. So it will be interesting. I think she looks pretty cool in the trailer so far that we've seen, like what we've seen of her. And I think my answer to this, and any casting decisions that are ever made in the history of the film and TV industry, we should do the Heath Ledger wait and see. That's what I'm going to say. If that makes sense. Enough. The Heath Ledger, I'm going to coin that. The Heath Ledger wait and see. That's what I'm doing. Anytime anyone's upset about casting, Heath Ledger wait and see it. Because if you don't see, people were freaking out about Heath Ledger as the Joker. They thought it was ridiculous, and he won an Oscar for it. So shut the hell up.
Oh my God.
Hold your horses. That's all I'm saying. But what were you going to say? Sorry.
Do you think there's a world where they tell the story of Last of Us Part 3 before the game even releases in the show?
That's a great question. What a great hypothetical question. Wouldn't that be a poor decision, though? That's like a Game of Thrones situation. HBO's done it before with Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones, the remaining... It's 1 novel, right? Or is it 2 for Game of Thrones that are remaining? I don't think 2. George Railroad Martin's going to get that 2. Done in the near future. I don't know. Maybe ever. It's that's interesting. But I think these games, Naughty Dog is like a powerhouse studio, so I think that they will get it done. The question is, would they do that? That's such a bad decision. I don't know. I hope they don't do that. I hope they just delay it. HBO is not afraid to delay seasons, make fans wait a few years and then bring the show back. I feel like that's a better way to do it. What do you think? Do you think they would show the story for part 3 before the game? And then, because Neil's a part of it, like, so always actually, to be fair, G.R.R. Martin George R.R. Martin was
Yeah.
specifically a part of Game of Thrones, the TV series, and he obviously wrote the books. I don't know. And then he said he didn't like House of the Dragon recently. Did you see that? He specifically said,
Yeah, he didn't like some of the character choices
right,
and like removing specific character storylines and stuff.
right.
Which is like, oh man. To be like, I really like House of the Dragon. The second season of House of the Dragon is definitely weak, I would argue,
Weak in
like all things
general.
considered.
Like not weaker.
Like
You're saying weak. Like just flat out, it's weak.
Like it's one of the weaker Game of Thrones TV seasons of television. I still really liked it, but it's like I feel like the first seasons of House of the Dragon is up there in terms of quality with the quality of the first 4 or 5 seasons of Game of Thrones. Whereas I think this one, I think it's still better than the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones, but it does kind of it's almost middling in a weird way. It seems like a setup season, and that's kind of like it. I feel like it ends where it begins with some character stories, and it just felt almost like a waste of time in a lot of ways, which is disappointing. But I think season 3, because of that, is going to be a banger of a season. So
House of the Dragon season 1
I still really like
it has some of the best uses of time jumps in a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
I agree.
For All Mankind is actually, for me, the best uses of time jumps I've ever seen in a show by far. Whereas House of the Dragon is a close second. I feel like it does a great job with that. But season 2 stayed in the same time period, and maybe it felt a little bit more stagnant. If that makes sense. But I still liked it a lot.
Definitely. I enjoyed it. I don't know, like some characters, like Damon in particular, like what are you doing with this character? I'm like, this is boring. Like he went from like one of the cool characters of the first season to a genuinely boring character to watch in the second season. I'm like, what is happening here?
I felt like there was good payoff by the end of the season though. I agree with you, and then I knew where it was going a little bit too much. Like it was like they projected it a little bit too much. It took too long. But I get why they did that, because they were trying to do a build up with a character development standpoint. I kind of dug that aspect because of the ending, the way it ends. But the build up for it is like excruciating. I remember sitting there with my fiance watching it, and we're like, oh my God, they're back to this guy again. This guy's losing his shit. Like stop. I'm like, stop it. I don't want to see this anymore. It's just like, it's the same thing over and over again for like 7 episodes. So I'm like, oh, okay.
I know, dude.
Yeah, I agree with that aspect, but I thought the payoff for the overall thing was cool. The overall plot, like his story arc, I thought that was neat. But you're right, it seemed like a waste of time a little bit.
Just do it in like 3 episodes, man.
No, but then it doesn't feel as much of a payoff. So maybe you could just not spend as much time on it in the episodes you did it in. Maybe that would have solved. I don't know. That's a good point, though. Yeah. I forgot about that.
You're just like on a bad fucking trip. Like he just did a bunch of ass and he's on a bad trip for like 8 episodes.
Don't go any further than that, because I don't want to have to blur the beep and blur this.
But I hope, I guess to bring it back to the last one, I really hope they don't do that. Like I want to play the game. I wanted to experience the game as opposed to watching like what part 3 would be.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't watch. I don't think I would watch the show first. I would be very conflicted about that. That's a bad decision. I don't know.
I agree.
I hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, I'm very excited about the show, and it's very soon at this point, so it should be very exciting. I'm very curious. I'm also curious where they're going to end off. There are some really big moments in part 2. What are they going to do with that? It's so interesting. Like, where is the 7th episode are they going to kind of do what you kind of suggested, where they kind of give more color to the story and do a lot of backstory and flashbacks and things that we don't, because the game starts in a different spot than I feel like they could start with the season. Like it starts, I don't want to spoil anything, so I can't talk to you in too much detail, but you know what I'm saying. Like it would be nice to see if they could just fill in the backstory a little bit further and then kind of do some bigger moments in the later part of the season, or they could just follow I guess with 7 episodes, because you probably need at least 14, 15, 16 episodes to complete the part 2 at the very least. You could just tell the story as it was told in the game, but that would be shocking, I think, in a weird, strange way to run a season of television. I think though, Craig Mazin, he kind of hinted at the fact that they're changing the story narrative, the way that they tell the story in a different kind of narrative way. I thought he said something along the lines of nobody is online has guessed the way that we're telling this story or something like that. Or like, that seems unlikely though. I bet somebody has guessed it in terms of people online
The entire
posting. But
yeah, it's all going to be backwards.
yeah, that, and then no one would know. It's like Tenet.
Yeah.
It tells the story in reverse.
Meets in the middle.
Yeah, right. Okay, Adrian, it is time now to move on to what we've been watching this week. I will throw it to you. What have you been watching this week? Good sir.
Yeah, Simon. Wait here, 1 second. I gotta close this door. I think my cat opened my door. I'm still here.
Cat opened it here. With the doorknob? Like they opened the doorknob?
Yeah, dude.
What, did they jump to it? How's that work?
No, just this cat walks around on like its hind legs, dude.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be tall enough. What kind of a cat do you have? Like, is it a tiger?
I don't know. Like when we moved in here, they were just here.
The cats are just there.
They speak English.
It's the Cheshire cat.
They have hands.
It's purple with like purple stripes, dark purple and
yeah, dude. Purple stripes, very defined whiskers.
Speaks in riddles.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy.
That sounds good.
I don't know. It came with the house.
Great deal.
Can't push that out.
Theoretically.
Yeah. So yeah, Simon, what have I been watching? I'll be honest with you. Again, busy. There's a few movies that I wanted to watch that I didn't get around to. We only watched one of them, but what I did watch
Yep.
was what's out so far on Invincible season 3. I think 5 episodes.
Oh, cool, man. How is it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
I like Invincible. It's nice because so enough time has passed since I've read the graphic novels, so there's still quite a few surprises. I remember a lot of big moments, but I think the show's doing a good job kind of fleshing out the story and adding extra context to specific big moments in the graphic novel, and is kind of stretching it out a bit in a really great way. I think the voice performances from the entire cast are consistently great. I really, really like Invincible. Like I love the graphic novels, but I feel like I'm getting, I'm not as high on Invincible as I was, with the first season specifically, but even season 2, with this third season where I think what the first season did really great, kind of going in as someone that really loved the graphic novel, is that they expanded on so many characters and they give so much, added development to characters that were kind of just, tertiary in the comic books. And I really like that about it. Like Mark's mom, as an example, is like a prominent character in the TV show. Like we get a lot of time with her. She has scenes, on her own and everything. And I really, really like that. And they're continuing that as the seasons progress. But what I think the show is missing that the comic book and graphic novel had is the graphic novel was actually like genuinely consistently funny. Whereas I feel like the Invincible TV show, with Invincible as a character specifically as well, is a little bit more dark and depressing. There's still a lot of funny moments sprinkled out with like Rex Splode as a character specifically, and Alan the Alien, who shows up. Like they have these funny moments, but they're really the only funny characters, where everyone else is kind of dour and more serious.
Isn't that interesting? Because it's Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen as the producers of the show, which is interesting because you would think that maybe there would be a bit more levity. I guess it's kind of, that's a good point. Actually, I was noticing that in season 2 as well. Like it just doesn't feel that funny, but I didn't necessarily expect it to be, considering how the first episode of season 1 begins, I guess. But yeah.
So I think because of that, it's losing a little bit of its charm as someone that really loved the graphic novels, but it doesn't take away from it being a, stellar, animated show. And I think the animation in season 3 compared to season 1 and 2 has improved. I think it looks a little bit better, kind of flows a little bit better. Whereas they even make jokes about it in season 2. With like the quality of animation and then, making shortcuts, which is funnily enough, a reference in the graphic novels as well, where they do like cheap panels, as they call it, where it's like, oh, we're just reusing the same animation or like hiding a character's mouth so they can finish a conversation. But I feel like it's less prevalent in season 3. And again, I think the fighting scenes are really great. Yeah, I still really enjoy it. I sound negative on it, but I do really love Invincible. It is just I feel like it's not as charming as I want it to be. Like when I was reading the graphic novels back in the day, where I would find myself laughing almost every issue. Not every issue, but like many of the issues. So yeah, I don't know. Because I think you mentioned you were watching season 2, right? Like, are you caught up with season 2?
No, I've pretty much. I've stopped watching it in some way. Like I just have, I don't know why. I watch a lot with my fiance and we're not watching Invincible together, and I've been playing a lot of video games. So I just haven't, I've watched a lot of things, but it's just not the stuff on my own. Whenever I kind of have a chance to do something on my own, I just end up playing Kingdom Come Deliverance or Ghost of Tsushima or Stellar Blade or something like that. I was just taking a look at the score here while I'm talking to you. I'm trying to see, is it still like almost 100% on Rotten Tomatoes for the 3rd season specifically? It's pretty impressive that it kept that up in terms of reviewers' scores. But I'm trying to see, how do you get to the season number? Where are you, season number? I can't get you. Anyway, regardless of that, 99% over on the average score. It's pretty high, honestly. So it's interesting. It's cool. It's good. I like it. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of have the same issue, maybe. I felt like when I jumped into season 2 after such a long period of not watching Invincible, because the season 1, there was a bit gap with season 2, and I just didn't get into it right as soon as I came back. I don't know. I like it, but it's just, there's something about it. It's just, some of the stuff is a bit more meandering than I'd like. The plot doesn't move as fast as I'd like it to. I don't know. I do like it though. It's good. I'll finish it. I'll get to it again. I just haven't been watching stuff on my own too much, I guess. Okay.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I find myself spending a lot of time like playing video. I've been in kind of a Star Wars mood.
Cool.
Since I watched Andor. So I started playing Jedi Survivor.
Nice.
Like Star Wars Jedi Survivor on my PS5. And I think I'm going to start Skeleton Crew as well. Sure. It's just, I haven't had much time to watch stuff over the last week or 2 weeks. I fit in the episode of Invincible. I fit in Severance. I fit in Love is Blind, which I guess leads me into the next thing I'm watching. Baby, Love is Blind. It's out. Love is Blind. It's trash. It's good. It's good trash, but it's trash.
Okay.
It's do you know the premise of Love is Blind, Simon?
So it's a reality show. It's a Netflix show. People can't see who they're talking to, but they're on the other side of a wall. Correct me if if I get it wrong. And they're talking on either side of a wall, and they're getting to know each other, but they can't see each other. And the idea is, do we need looks to mean that much in a loving relationship? ? We can learn about each other and love each other's personalities. Is that not the premise? Okay. Yeah.
That is essentially the premise. Cool. And then after they have to choose to get engaged before they see the person. So they have to propose through the wall. And then they see each other and they have to propose to each other in person. And then, so they released the first 6 episodes last Friday. And they released the next 3 yesterday, I think. So me and my fiance are going to watch that. But the first 6 episodes are them in the pods. And then like the final 6 episodes are them outside dating. Like they go to like a getaway. I think I don't even know where the fuck they're going this season. But they're going somewhere on like a little vacation. And then they go back home and they have to kind of like live together and see like, is this engagement going to turn into a marriage?
Right.
And that's the premise of the show. The pods are the most boring part. I've only seen 3 seasons of Love is Blind. So this is season 8. So I've watched 6, 7, 8. And I will say this season, the pods is always the most boring, always lame. This season, the pods were actually not great, but they were more interesting than the last couple seasons. So I'm hoping that it continues on this trend, but
I see. So the pods is like, I can see where the pods would be boring. It's just like 2 people talking and who cares? But then the other part's like the great experiment. Will it work? It's kind of like, this is going to be a disaster. Is that the idea? Yeah. And there's a lot more drama there theoretically.
Exactly.
You know that there's going to be problems, and the other thing is like, all right, these people are going to pretend that they like each other for like 3 hours in this stupid room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, they just want to get out. They just want to be on the show. Presumably some of these people, like, so they get engaged, and then like, it just becomes like a toxic relationship drama galore.
Right.
So like that's what I live for. I don't give a shit if any of these people end up together. I could not care less about these people, but it's like, this is entertaining television.
Yeah.
It's just garbage.
Right.
It's fun.
Okay.
So
cool.
Maybe I'll watch that after we finish recording. Actually, there's a new episode of, I got to watch The Traitors, Simon, where The Traitors is ending soon. So I've been,
great.
Stuff.
You're just into that reality TV, eh? I was almost going to say live TV. Imagine reality TV was live. That would be actually boring. It's the way it's edited. Actually,
well, the reunion episodes sometimes are. That's
fair, but I think what keeps reality TV engaging is the way it's edited. They get like lots of footage, and it's sifting through that footage to make it work. I think is kind of what makes it dramatic and interesting to people. Yeah. I imagine, but
definitely.
Okay. Anything else you've watched this week? This bi-week, I should say, because of course we launch our episodes every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. Is there anything else you've seen?
I mean, again, we'll touch on this very briefly, but caught up with Severance.
Oh, cool.
Oh boy. God damn.
Yeah, it's good.
This show is so good, man. I'm so confused. Because I didn't watch episode, I think 4.
Yeah. 4 is a doozy, eh?
Before we recorded last time. And you said, like, I don't have as much faith in, in where he's going to take the story after that episode. And I'm so confused about that. I think that episode was amazing.
Oh, it's amazing. It doesn't mean that I'm not confused. It's like The Last Jedi. What a great, you know what I mean?
Fair
enough.
Touché.
It's specifically the ending of episode 4 that got me because of the way that it was shown. There was a specific way that it was shot. I was like, wait, what? I was confused by it, but then they completely, the thing I was worried about was not even addressed. So I'm like, I guess it wasn't important. Oh, I will say this about Severance. Actually, great thing you brought this up. I hate that it's week to week. I just hate it. I want to watch it all at once. I find that very annoying, and I'm like missing. I like this idea of my memory remembering. Like I had to watch. So when I watched Severance season 1 before I started season 2, I was really into it. I was like, oh man, I'm into it. And then I watched the first 2 episodes, and I was like, oh, I'm moving right into this. And I feel like it greatly benefited the show, and actually leads me to my next thing, which is I've been watching Silo, and I love Silo. I think Silo is a great show. Rebecca Ferguson stars in it. Steve Zahn's in this season, which is really cool. It's also got Common and Tim Robbins of Shawshank Redemption fame. It's a great series. It's very interesting. But the reason I'm bringing up the week to week thing is that it's 62% as an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes and it's a 96% for critics. And I definitely land in the critics side. But I think the reason why audience didn't like it, I'm guessing, is because they were kind of forced to watch it week to week because that's how Apple TV Plus shows operate. And I don't I have an inkling that influenced the score negatively because critics typically, from my understanding, they typically get a half season or the full season to review, and they're able to review it kind of in a chunk. From my understanding, anyway, or a lot of the critics are able to do that. The ones that are like more professional and been doing it for a long time. And so I think that benefits this show. Like there's this, each episode is cool, but if you had to wait a full week from some of these, for some of these episodes, you'd be like, is it even interesting? It's intriguing the whole way through, but there's certain episodes that are like bombshell episodes and certain ones that are, again, slower paced. And that's just the way the show is. It's a great show. It's amazing. But that's kind of the way it is. Severance is kind of exciting the whole time, but there's a little mysteries spotted throughout, and I want to be able to connect them cognitively. I want to be able to connect the dots in a more like holistic way where I'm kind of feeling like it's kind of screwing me over that I'm watching it this way, but I want to watch it this way because I feel like we can talk about it briefly week to week. But next season, I might just decide not to do that. I'm not sure. I'm thrown off by that, but yeah, I was going to bring up the Silo thing and how I think that's connected to the week-to-week thing. It's interesting that Apple TV Plus has done that significant, like the whole time from every single show they've launched, whereas Netflix has kind of experimented, but largely dropped their whole season in one shot, which I think has benefited them in some way. I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder if Netflix will change their style of release, but anyway.
Yeah. I'm not so like I've definitely softened on the week to week thing.
Yeah, you were telling me that you like I think when we stopped the podcast that you actually like week to week a little bit more now. Or did you change your mind again? Because you kind of I think you're kind of gone back and forth on that a few times, no? Like you're kind of Not sure.
Yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, I flip flop. It really depends. I love the water cooler
I
talk
know that
of
like
being
you
able,
want to be a part of the
and
zeitgeist. I get that part, but I don't know. I can avoid that if I could talk about it at the end.
mhm.
Like if I could just do like one
Yeah,
great conversation about the whole thing after I've watched it. I'm not watching it. By the way, I'm not a binger. I'll say that. I'll get back to you. Sorry, I interrupted you. I don't binge things. Just want to say that. I watch them
mhm.
like day to day, like or every 3 days
Yeah,
I'll watch an episode, or like that's kind of the way I'm doing it. It's just the pace of 1 7 day period is just too long. That was my point. But yeah, well, yeah, you like the water cooler
yeah,
talk. Yeah, I know. But
yeah. I like the water cooler talk. I also like the something to always look forward to. There's
yeah,
something nice about like, okay, cool. Every Friday it's Severance
yeah,
Day. That's awesome.
that's fair.
Or like every Thursday is Traitors. Every Thursday is
Yeah,
Invincible. Every Friday is Love Is Blind for the next couple
sure.
weeks. Every Monday is The Bachelor. Like it's nice to have these kind of set things, and it's like, okay, cool. If I miss it, well, now, okay, awesome. I just watch it then. It's like, okay, cool. Now it's only 6 days away instead of 7. I don't know. I've kind of trained my brain to be a little bit more happy about it because I think, yeah, I don't know. I just love being a part of the conversation and talking to friends about it.
Yeah.
I don't really work in a retail environment or anything anymore, but especially back then, it was cool, like Game of Thrones and being able to talk about it, little things like that. But again, I do still love when like a full show drops, like when you season 4 or 5,
Me?
whatever season, the last season of you. Yeah, you,
Last
Simon.
season
Simon,
of
you,
me?
you, dude.
No, not
Oh
the
yeah,
last
dude.
season. I'm not ready.
Yeah, it's the last. It's winter. It's winter. The last season. You're gonna die after this.
No.
You're fucking dead. You hear me?
No. Okay. Yeah.
If you die, this is gonna look very bad
Sure.
for me. Especially if it's mysterious circumstances. Oh my God, summoned out in mysterious circumstances.
We published this episode, so it's going to be used in some kind of logged evidence situation.
The court of law, Simon. Murder law.
Yeah, I see what you
the
mean.
Murder court.
I see what you mean about this week to week, but I just don't care that much about. I rather think critically and talk critically about it with a more holistic view, like a full experience. That's kind of my thought. But I see where the zeitgeist thing is coming from. I know that that's enticing and stuff, but I also find myself in situations where, like, again, I work retail adjacent, like servicing retail stores, and so I'll talk about a TV show or something or a game, and if there's multiple people around me, like, I can't really talk about it. Not everyone's watching it. Severance is incredibly popular though. It's doing some crazy viewership records, like beating some viewership records for streaming, so that's great. So a lot of people are watching that, but not always is everyone watching it, obviously. So that's kind of the tricky part too, with like talking about spoilers. And I'd rather not tiptoe around it. If it's the end of the season, it's a lot more likely everyone's seen it already. It's fine.
Yeah, I do love it though, like, because I was talking to my friend Peter about this, how this is like it's not too often where everyone is kind of watching the same thing. Last time I feel like it was Game of Thrones. Time before that was, I guess, Breaking Bad. Time before that was Lost.
Stranger Things.
And it's like, this is, oh yeah, Stranger Things actually as well. Yeah. I feel like Stranger Things kind of is like trickled out in popularity.
Not the last
Maybe
season,
not. Actually,
dude.
No, season 4
last season was crazy.
Yeah, that was
Everyone
great.
where I was working at the time was really talking about it. Like it was like it was buzzing through the workplace there. But
yeah. But like, I feel like we're watching like a genuine masterpiece, top tier television unfold right before us, and we're in it on the ground floor, and we're watching every episode.
Right.
And I don't know, there's something exciting about that. Where it's like, are people going to talk about Severance like they still talk about Lost? Yeah, well, I mean, Lost ending sucks. Blah, it's a bad show. People say that, or even Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones ending sucked.
Right. People talked about The Last of Us quite a bit too. I feel like we talked about The Last of Us. The thing is that to me, this is a more meaningful conversation because we're going to talk about it in more depth. And we time our episodes based on what we want to talk about when we can. So for me, this is my water cooler talk is with you. And it's part of the reason I wanted to bring the podcast back in the first place is that to have these critical conversations, like really look at the in-depth narratives and visual effects and music and like that part. That's why we're doing this in a large way. And you also work from home now. So where's the zeitgeist Like, where is you being part of the zeitgeist in that regard? You know what I mean? In that way, like you're not really. I'm sure there are friends that you know that are watching Severance, but it's not as deep
Yeah.
as it once was.
I mean, like, I guess talking with my fiance
Yeah,
while we watch it.
sure, but you're going to do that
But
anyway because
again,
you're going to watch
Peter.
to the end, and then you'll talk about it as you watch it whenever you do. So like, that's not part of the zeitgeist.
Fair.
Is that you're just part of your family, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peter, my friend Peter, we text each other.
Yeah, that's fair.
Every week.
Yeah, that's cool.
He'll like text me like, "Oh my god, that elevator scene," and I'll be like, "I haven't watched it yet. Give me a second."
Yeah.
And I message him back, "Holy shit, that elevator scene, dude!"
Right. Yeah. I get it.
Stuff.
I get it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You talked about the Skeleton Crew. I don't know if I recommend it completely. It's interesting, like in general, like not to you, but in general, because I haven't recommended anything to you in a while. But I think the problem with this show
4 weeks ago.
Yeah, the problem with this show is that it feels like it's by kids for kids. If that makes sense, like there's just too many children in it. I don't believe the kids are that. They're not intelligent enough. Like the Stranger Things kids are specifically pretty smart, and you can tell that they're pretty smart, and they're smarter for their age than they should be for their age, I should say. And so that I feel like really was leveraged in that show, and that's where that show really shined because the kids were great characters in and of themselves, which is great.
Or even like It.
Sure, yeah, that's a good point too. And the writing was good for the kids too. I just feel like the kids are like their intelligence is low. I'm not sure what's going on. The acting's okay. I think Jude Law's pretty good. I will say there's one episode I was like, what is happening with this one? And it just so happened to be the episode directed by the Daniels. So I am curious if you watch it, what you think. There's like definitely different styles of episodes because the directors are such a eclectic group. I feel like Jake Schreier, the guy who directed the Beef show, like Beef with Stephen Yeun, like that show, that episode was great. I was like, wow, this episode, it's like it's been like this. It's like whoa, in terms of like peaks and valleys. I was just doing a peaks and valleys situation with my hand. I forgot I was on a podcast. But anyway, yeah, I like it enough, but I feel like I'm watching Silo simultaneously, and I'm definitely liking Silo more. It's just fair. So obvious, but I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. I like the idea of the pirate elements of it. Like it's like pirates and Star Wars hasn't really been explored that much, so that's a really kind of a neat theme that they haven't really done. And honestly, the style of the Star Wars hasn't been done before at all. So that's also, it's unique. But I will say this show just makes me really, really miss The Acolyte, because I think The Acolyte is a much better show. And yet The Acolyte canceled. And I'm sure this show won't be. So I almost want you to watch The Acolyte so you can understand or not understand at all what I'm talking about, because it's such an intriguing like cultural problem, cultural issue that caused it to get canceled. But it's an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes for critic scores, and then in the dumps for audience popcorn meter on Rotten Tomatoes. It's just completely lambasted online. And then whenever you talk to somebody about it, what do you think of The Acolyte? They're like, oh, it's a bad show. I'm like, oh, you've seen it? They're like, no, I didn't see it. It's like, what are you talking about then? What are you talking about? And so if there was a Star Wars show that I prefer The Acolyte over Kenobi. I prefer The Acolyte over this show so far. We'll see how it ends. Maybe it'll be a rocket ending and I'll change my mind. But I mean, Kenobi was fine. So it's not that big of a surprise that other things surpass it. But regardless of that, Skeleton Crew's okay. But the thing that I liked the most this week, Adrian, the thing I enjoyed the most watching is the thing we watched together. And it was really a huge hit movie from the MCU. No, I'm kidding. Your eyes are shifting. No. The movie I watched not together. I watched it alone. I watched it with my fiance, but it's a movie about Saturday Night Live called Saturday Night. I watched this on Crave. Oh. This is a movie that takes place within an hour and a half before showtime on October 11th, 1975, for the first ever SNL episode ever to air, where Lorne Michaels is just running around trying to get things in order with all of these comedians, and it's just chaos. It's stressful. It caused me a little bit of anxiety. I think also because I was a tiny bit of a theater kid. I worked backstage at various productions, like as a video and media lighting and sound director, and so for like at the University of Guelph, which was cool for a couple of productions that we put on there. So that it felt a little bit like that. There's this chaos. of it all. But I just thought this movie is really well shot. It just captures this, again, that live show theatrical production going to air kind of behind the scenes chaos. And the fact that it's an hour and a half before showtime and it's just a disaster, it's so interesting to watch. It kind of gave me some Birdman vibes, and that like it doesn't do one shot at all, but it's that kind of idea that you're just following Lorne Michaels around as he's trying to like wrangle people together to get it to work. The cast is crazy. There's also no show stealers, which is really interesting. It's just an ensemble cast of like really, like, again, really great group of actors. Like Willem Dafoe's in it. Corey Michael Smith is in it. Gabriel LaBelle.
Rachel Sennett is in it as well.
Yeah, Rachel Sennett's in it. That's correct. J.K. Simmons is in it.
I'm a big fan of her.
Yeah, it's good. Dylan O'Brien. We got Matthew Rhys is in it as well. Nicholas Braun from Succession. And I thought like Jason Reitman, the director, did a great job. And I feel like it's kind of a metaphor for SNL itself. Like it's such a mess. And like people were asking throughout the entire thing is like, this is going to fail. This is a disaster. You can see that in the trailer if you watch the trailer. And it's like, this is going to fail. And yet this SNL is like an institution. It's run for 50 years. It's a crazy, ever-evolving cast of people that has just continued on NBC for 50 years. Literally, this is the 50th year. They just did their 50th year celebration kind of thing. So it's, I just loved it. I thought it was really good. The way that they did like the set design, the costumes, the detail in the tiny little bits of it. It reminds me of like, not quite like this because I don't like it as much as a Nora, but I feel like in the way that it, like all the little details of the costume design and the way it's shot, it feels like it's a 1970s time period in that way. And like the set design, the way the music is used, and it's funny at times, it's emotional at times. It's good. I really like it. I was very impressed with it. I was excited to watch it already. I was going to go see it in theaters, but I just never got around to it. And then it ended up being on Crave TV, and then I was very happy to watch it there. But I recommend it.
I'll give it a look.
I recommend it a lot.
It's on my list. My fiance wanted to watch that. We just never got around to watching it in the theater. Cool. But maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch it.
Cool, man.
Now, I know your fiance mentioned it to me when we were watching a movie that we watched, that she watched The Gorge.
Yeah, we watched The Gorge.
Did you watch The Gorge?
Yeah, we watched The Gorge on Valentine's Day when it came out. Good. February 14th. It is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's as good as Saturday Night, but then again, she thought the opposite. Like definitely. She definitely liked The Gorge better. The Gorge, by the way, if you don't know, Apple TV Plus movie. Two people are on either side. They're basically snipers from various parts of the world, from actually, I guess, the opposite sides of the world. They're covering this spot in a undisclosed location called the Gorge, and they're basically in these watchtowers over the gorge watching to see if anything's going to come out of it, and they're not giving enough information as to what would possibly come out of it. The thing about this movie is that it surprised me in a lot of ways, and the plot went unexpected directions. There was really neat like choices that I didn't expect to happen. I was impressed with it. I felt like there were some things that I feel like they did that plot convenience thing again, like where they just they're not necessarily plot holes, but they're getting close. They're like, how can you be serious about this? You would like, there's certain situations that just, again, I had to suspend my disbelief, but it's a love story as well. And you can see that in the trailer. It's Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. Yeah. And they're expert snipers. But yeah, it's pretty cute as well, and it's an action movie in some ways as well. It's neat. It's just some monsters parts of it I was like, I wish this was written better. If they put more time and detail into the plot itself, like Saturday Night as an example, which is, it just felt like a tighter plot. This is not, The Gorge didn't feel as tight, and that's my criticism of it. I feel like they could have been tighter, and then it would have been excellent. But it's good though. I recommend The Gorge. Just
would you say that it was
to people out there, not to you, but generally?
So it was you would say that it is an Anya Taylor-Joy to watch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she plays chess in it as well.
Oh, she does. Yeah. like her hit character, Gambit in Queen's Gambit.
Right. I was like, oh, she's playing chess. I think that's her name. Look at that. I was like Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, pointing at the screen.
Yeah. All right, nice. Adrian, I think it's time.
Cool. I'm going to watch that. Yeah.
I think it's time.
Before we jump into this, bathroom break?
I knew you were going to do that. You're doing the bathroom breaks earlier and earlier now. You realize that, right?
Well,
Usually you do the bathroom break just before the montage segment of our show, but it's fine. I don't want to kill your bladder. I knew you drinking water before we started was a mistake. Spilling it all over yourself.
I just know I don't know how long this is going to go.
You're right. It could take a while.
I would have just done the montage, but if we're doing a closer look,
I feel bad for even bringing up the topic or even giving you any kind of grief. Just go. Relieve yourself.
Thanks. Okay, I'll be back. I'm going to fill up my water as well. Gulp, gulp, gulp. My bladder's gotta pee. I'm going to come back freshly pissed. Covered in pee all once again, Simon. There's piss everywhere. This time it was red. It's crazy.
All right, Adrian. You're back to your void. We're back. And it's time now to talk about Captain America 4. Captain America, Brave New World.
Wah, wah, wah.
Incredible.
Captain Falcon and the bravely leaves the nest or whatever that we came up with last time.
Captain Falcon bravely leaves the nest. Indeed. All right. Well, this is a review discussion for Captain America Brave New World. And this will be non-spoilers right now. And then on the A Closer Look portion, the second half of the A Closer Look episode, we're going to get into spoilers. But again, we'll never spoil anything on the main numbered episodes of Split Focus, a Film and TV podcast. But Adrian...
Except for this.
No, don't do it!
Darth Vader?
No, he's not doing it. He's joking. You don't have to hit pause. Not to worry. But Adrian, I guess I'll just ask for your Falcon's eye thoughts on this. To start, what are your Falcon's eye view thoughts on Captain America 4?
So Simon, I think this movie is. Let's start with the good. This movie, I think, has.
They're bird's eye thoughts, so you can.
Yeah, there's some good,
okay,
and a lot not good with this movie. I think this movie's a little bit of a mess, unfortunately, which I'm bummed about.
Right,
I'm more bummed than anything. Like once we left that theater, it wasn't like a visceral hatred for the movie. It wasn't like this is the worst thing I've ever seen. It was quite literally like, oh man, that kind of sucks.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Quite literally. And I feel like that kind of encapsulates what this movie was. There is some good in it, again, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail. But I think as a whole, this movie is a miss.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And it sucks that it is.
Yeah. Yeah, like...
The movie doesn't suck. It sucks that it isn't great.
So I said...
It isn't good.
On episode 103 of our podcast, I said that I was hoping it would be the spark that lights the fire of the MCU's current phase. Mm-hmm. That going into Thunderbolts and then Fantastic Four especially, that it would like take momentum into the Avengers. And this was not the spark. I will say that. Like, it didn't spark anything. It's like, it's a movie. It kind of feels like the way I felt kind of leaving the movie Wolfman, actually.
Yes.
It's like, it exists, but why you waste this potential and the money to build this movie when you could just write it more exactly? Mm-hmm. In more detail, like actually understand the political situation of the countries that are, talking to each other in the movie and the various, like, there's so much going on. And I feel like there's just not enough character development. There's not enough villain character development in particular. It's interesting in terms of good stuff. I will say I kind of liked Anthony Mackie's Captain America 4's costume. Like, I thought his costume looked pretty cool.
It's cool.
I liked it. I thought, honestly, Harrison Ford looked cool as the Red Hulk. I thought that was pretty cool CG. That was pretty neat. Your face is kind of indicating to me that you're like, it could have been better. But I liked it. I don't know. I thought it was cool. I think what was Kenneth Saddlebauer was joking around that he was like, he's just a more jacked version of Temple of Doom Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Just sunburnt Indiana Jones from Temple of Doom. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, anything else you want to say to just complete your high level thoughts before we move into some more detail, some more non-spoiler detail?
Yeah, like I think like you mentioned, I think Sam Anthony Mackie's like costume is really good. I will say like I really liked the addition of Joaquin Torres, played by Danny Ramirez. He's like the new Falcon,
right,
shown in the trailer.
He was in Captain Falcon and the Winter Guy, right?
I don't remember him.
I think he
must have been, maybe, but I don't remember.
And by Captain Falcon and the Winter Guy, I mean Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the TV series on Disney+.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Was he actually? Because I do not remember him.
But so that's actually a good point that's being made. So he's introduced in this theoretically or not, but he's not given a lot of backstory. And that's kind of another criticism in a weird way.
Yeah.
Why?
I do like.
Yeah, he's in. Yeah, he's right.
I think
Joaquin Torres, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he's in it.
Oh my God, I don't remember him, which is funny because I thought this was his introduction. Nope. But I was like, I do really like the relationship between him and Sam. Like, I think they play off well each other. I know Isaiah Bradley, he was in Falcon and the Winter Guy. That much I remember. And I really like his addition into the movie and, again, how he plays off of Anthony Mackie. I think I don't love Anthony Mackie's acting a lot of the time. There's something about him that I don't really enjoy. But I think he does a really good job shooting the shit with the people on screen with him. I think he has really good chemistry with the people around him quite consistently. Yeah. And, the relationship between him and Joaquin and him and Isaiah was really good. Like I love so a lot of people complain about Marvel humor in everything, whether it's video games, the MCU, just general movies. And then it's always like, oh my God, he's right behind me, isn't he? Or it's like, did I just do that sort of thing? And I think this movie, funnily enough, doesn't have much of that. There's a couple of like those moments, but this movie doesn't have that sort of tone in the humor aspect. But there is funny moments, and it's literally just the characters shooting the shit back and forth with each other. That like made me laugh a few times, actually. And I really enjoyed that part of the movie.
It's interesting, though.
That's about it.
I think. Here's the thing about that. It's funny that you say that, though. I feel like the jokes didn't land often enough. I feel like they fell flat. There's actually big, even dramatic moments that felt like it's a dramatic line, and then it's said, and it doesn't feel like it lands. And that's kind of where I think you're saying Anthony Mackie's acting's not good. But I don't know if it's Anthony Mackie's fault. Here's the thing I'll say. I think that
it's just the writing.
I think that Harrison Ford and Giancarlo Esposito could act out the phone book. They could read off the phone book and make it compelling, okay? But I don't know that Anthony Mackie necessarily can. I'm not sure, honestly, that Danny Ramirez necessarily can. Maybe not yet. Maybe they can if they have a certain director. I don't know. Or certain writing. That's a whole different story. My thing is that I don't think they had a lot of safety nets. I didn't think there was a lot of trustful situations where the director, Julius Onah, and the writers, Malcolm Spellman and Rob Edwards, and Julius Onah, I don't think they actually helped them at all. They did none of the actors any favors. I think Harrison Ford was very capable the whole time. I think he sounded good. I believed him as the president of the United States. I believed it. I was cool. And the thing about him is also, that's another thing I believe, is that Harrison Ford was playing William Hurt's character of Thaddeus Ross, of course. That's not a spoiler. Of course, that's in the trailer. And Thaddeus Ross becomes the president, as it is in the trailer. And specifically, Harrison Ford, I believed him as William Hurt's Thaddeus Ross. And I think that's really cool. That's awesome. I believe that. But the problem is that the writing, it doesn't feel specific enough. And because I felt like the jokes are falling flat and the dramatic scenes didn't really work. There's a moment where you laugh during a dramatic scene between Anthony Mackie's character and Harrison Ford's, and I was like, yeah, because it's just cheesy, because they don't sound like real people. These people don't talk like normal human beings, and the plot's too convoluted for no reason, and they don't character development they're villains enough. It's kind of like a movie that's going through the motions of an MCU. Like, we're an MCU movie. Let's do it. Let's make a ton of money. I don't know what. That's not the point, though. And the crazy thing. Go on. Sorry, I'm gonna take a break.
No. It's like I agree with that. Like it. But I feel like it tries to be an MCU movie in like all the wrong ways. And like the movie is very fast paced. It's high paced all throughout, but in a very bad way. I feel like things are consistently happening, but not because of what happened before. It's because the writers were like, oh, and then this happens.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, the scenes kind of move quickly, but they also move quickly, and then they have this weird pacing issue where they jump to the next scene, and then they feel like there's like moments of calm between two characters, and then they don't feel that calm. They feel like they're just trying to move on to the next scene. It's weird. I can't quite describe it, but yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't put my finger on it either, but yeah, it was very much like, I feel like it was like the writers being like, oh man, so Captain America, he like shows up in the White House, and then explosions happen, and then they do this, and then they do that, but it's not like, oh, the characters react this way because of what happened previously. And I feel like that was just constant in the 2-hour runtime of the movie, and it almost felt like this movie, similar to The Wolfman, funnily enough, like they cut out context. Like, did they cut the shit out of this movie and kind of break it apart in a weird way?
But it also kind of felt too long at times.
Yeah,
how do you do both,
dude? Yeah. I don't know. It's so weird. And like, I want to say that it's like, oh no, they cut it to shreds and that was the issue. But they're the guys that did Captain Falcon and the Winter Guy,
a TV show.
And that show is not good.
Right. So Julius Anoff, to be fair, didn't do that. But Marcus Spellman wrote Captain Falcon and the Winter Dude. And that show is reviewed well, but if you look at Marcus Spellman's Rotten Tomatoes scores, generally they're not good. And Julius Anoff has a good movie in Loose, but then he's also got Cloverfield Paradox, which he also directed. Yeah, the thing is that here's the thing I have trouble with. I'm confused by it. It just seems like Kevin Feige and his team don't seem to be vetting these creators as much as they were, or something else. They used to like be on this crazy hot streak of getting people like James Gunn, who really hadn't done anything else, but he did these cult classic movies that people loved, and they got him to do Guardians of the Galaxy as an example. And then they have like Peyton Reed come in and do Ant-Man. He made movies like I Love You, Man. Where is it? No, not I Love You, Man.
Yeah.
No, that's not him. Peyton Reed. No, he did the movie with Jim Carrey where the guy's singing with the guitar, and he's trying to... Yes, Man. Right? That's Peyton Reed.
Oh, okay.
Am I wrong?
I don't know,
man. My internet's slow. I'm clicking it in. I'm pretty sure it's Yes Man. Yeah, he directed Yes Man, which was a hit. Okay, in my opinion. I think that was a good movie. Did you see Yes Man?
Yeah. Or the fucking Russo brothers that literally did Arrested Development and Community prior to coming in and doing Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
So the interesting thing about this is Marcus Spellman hasn't really had a good track record, but Julius Anoff, like for stuff that we've seen that are blockbusters, right? Not maybe he's done really cool projects going through school or something. I don't know. But Julius Anoff, he made serious movies from what I'm seeing. Like I don't see any comedy. The Russo brothers with their comedy chops. Joss Whedon he's actually got a similar style in his works before he got Avengers. And things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Firefly, and like he had a hand in making
Alias.
Yeah, no, Alias. Joss Whedon did Alias.
Yeah, I swear to God, with Jennifer Garner.
Wait, but that would mean that he worked with J.J. Abrams on that.
Alias, Joss Whedon. Am I mixing that up?
Because it's
oh man,
it's J.J. Abrams, right? Alias?
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Maybe I'm wrong.
Regardless of that, But the point is that they have these track
Okay.
records. They're smaller projects largely. Obviously, JJ is huge for Alias, but Joss Whedon wasn't big. Peyton Reed wasn't that big. Russo brothers weren't that big. Kenneth Branagh was okay. He did Thor. I thought the first Thor movie was pretty solid. It was a solid movie. Jon Favreau did a few things before that, but his biggest hit probably was Iron Man as a director. And so again, this is like they have these special ways of finding this talent that would just really kick off these movies. And these directors somehow come in with like a confidence that's clear. And they create this like very reliable script. And even if they don't have it, they are able to kind of rewrite it. I think like Peyton Reed, I imagine Ant-Man was somewhat improvised, like probably like throughout, which is cool. But yeah, like it's. I just feel like that's missing. The confidence is missing. I feel like there's a lack of confidence in the making of Captain America 4. Like it feels like these guys are like, we know how the formula works, and they're following the formula. Like they followed a manual on how to make a movie. It's a piece of art. Like you can't follow the manual. You got to make it with like feeling and passion, and it feels like there's no passion. That's the way I feel like it. It's just like made like a chair. Like you're building a table or something. You're a hammer. You're making IKEA furniture. You're just following the instructions. Like that's not going to work. I don't know. It doesn't look fun to make. That's what I'll say for the actors. Like it just seems like it's like, yeah, they're making an MCU movie and that's it. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. Certainly, it's not even a bad movie. It's just not a good movie, and that's the kind of the problem.
Yeah,
and that's not what I expect. And I know people always razz on the MCU. They look at it and say, "Oh, it's the MCU. The MCU is just superhero movies." It's like no. The advantage of the MCU is you can tell these very like a variety of diverse stories in a genre, which is like the superhero genre. And you can tell very, very different stories. Ant-Man's a comedy, like through and through. Guardians of the Galaxy is like a misfit team movie, like almost like a road movie in a weird way. Like there's variety. Winter Soldier, obviously Captain America. Winter Soldier is like a spy movie.
Espionage thriller.
Exactly. And this movie in some ways is trying to be that actually, just doing a bad imitation.
Too much though. Yes, very much so, which I want to dive into a little bit more in spoilers because there are like specific scenes where I'm like, oh my God. Like, I think these guys were like, oh, we can do this. We can do Captain America the Winter Soldier and maybe do it better. We can do Captain America Civil War, like parts of Civil War and do it better. And it's like, oh my God, you guys cannot. You guys are way in over your head. And I just think this movie kind of falls on its face because of that. And I feel like you said this as soon as the movie ended. And I think you said like, wow, like this is just wasted potential, I think is the phrase you used.
Sure.
And I could not agree with that more because I feel like this movie it's funny. I said the same thing about Wolfman. Has a lot of really good ideas. The idea of a Captain America without the super soldier serum is so cool. And you could do this really well.
Right.
But this movie is so poorly executed on that idea. And the issue is that they focus on it.
Yeah.
In the writing. They focus on,
then they do
oh, Sam, I should have taken that super soldier serum sort of thing. Again, like it's a plot point. They talk about it.
Let's not get too much into that because I don't want to dive too much into spoilers. But yeah, I agree with you. That's a plot point in the show. It's a plot point in Captain Falcon and the Winter Guy too. And they just don't, and they kind of just, if you look at the trailer, you can see they kind of do the opposite of what that actually entails. What does it mean to not have the super soldier serum is the question that needs to be asked, the what if question. And they don't really answer it. They just keep asking the question. They ask it over and over and over again, but they never want to answer. Actually, leads me to something to talk about, actually. And I want to talk about this when we talk about Severance, probably on a closer look episode. But Severance has this tendency of asking the questions, the tough questions of the writer's room. The question, of course, Severance is about people who have their minds split, where they go to work and they're one person and they go home and they're another person. The work-life balance literally split in their mind. But they ask the tough questions of what that would mean scientifically. What would it mean emotionally? What would it mean in a person-to-person interaction? What would it mean going home to your wife? What would it mean if you had a relationship at work? What would it mean? There's like, ask every question about what if you actually Severance did exist, and they try to answer that. They live in the reality of their world, the confines of what their universe entails. This movie doesn't do that at all. And it just doesn't seem to understand what the MCU is. This is the thing I've talked about 100 times. I think some writers go, I don't know if they're just in general in Hollywood or not, but it feels like they go into a writer's room and they write a plot, and they're just like, they make ridiculous things happen, and then somebody questions them on it, and they're like, well, what does it matter? This guy, the Thor, can fly. It's like, no, you created the physics of your universe. You need to follow it. And we're going to get into that with spoilers, that's for sure, because that's the worst shit I've ever heard of. It's just badly written, and it's just lazy. It's lazy is the long and short of it. I'm so disappointed.
Me too, man. Yeah. It's funny. Again, I haven't watched the Skeleton Crew, like from Star Wars, but you said that it's a show written by kids for kids.
Yeah.
Like that's how it kind of feels like.
Sure.
And I feel like this movie was written by kids for adults. And like
that's not really what I said is by kids for kids, because there's kids in it as the stars. I feel like it is written by adults, to be fair. They're tailoring it for kids, and the kids are in it, and they're such a large part of it. That's why it's for kids. Anyway, kids for kids. But anyway.
Then this is the opposite of that.
Yeah, sure, it's for adults.
It's like, don't you think that this would be cool? It's like, it feels like elementary school writing or high school writing. Like, oh, this would be cool if we did this.
Yeah, on that, but on a positive note, I want to emphasize this because you said a really good point earlier, is you said that this movie has really good ideas. And I completely agree with that sentiment. Like, that's something that... Was there a fly? You looked up in the air. Is it like a mosquito or something? Okay.
I thought I heard water dripping.
Oh no,
because I had like a water issue problem, but I realized it's just the faux leather on my chair rubbing against my desk, and it made it sound like water dropping.
Oh, okay, that's good. Wow.
So I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Thank God. Yeah. Thank God it's not water dripping. That would be a bad first week,
dude. I can get into that real quick. I know we're talking about No, I won't dive into
You can do it. We'll talk do whatever you want.
Okay, so yeah, I was having a furnace issue in my house, which is obviously like the most expensive thing.
Yeah.
And I realized, and we obviously snowed a bunch, bad weather. So there was like a snow dam, I guess, created on my roof in my backsplit, and water was seeping in to the house because of that, dripping down, because I guess the condensation or whatever, right? So we had water, like a leak in the basement. We're like, oh my fuck, dude, we just moved in the house. The furnace is running. It's like blowing air, but it's like blowing cold air. And I'm like, what is happening? And I'm looking online, looking at all this stuff. And we noticed this yesterday. The pipe was even like starting to freeze. I'm like, this could be catastrophic. And we have a Nest smart learning thermostat.
I thought you were talking about like a bird's nest. So we have a bird's nest.
No,
it's cold for that, isn't it?
Yeah, the Falcon Nest. We're bringing it back. We're going back into the movie, the Nest, Falcon's Nest. No, it's like the Nest learning thermostat, and it was plugged into the wall. Factory reset it up, and there's like wiring, right?
Yeah.
That you have to, like, when you're setting it up, it's like, what wires is it plugging into?
Right.
And there's the wires written on the wall where I plugged in. And when I set it up, the wires that I connected, it says like, oh, can't detect these two wires. So, but that's what it showed on the wall where I plugged it in. So the thermostat thought we had a electric furnace with heat pump.
Oh,
so it was running my AC unit.
Oh,
while running my furnace.
Oh no.
So it's like condensation build up, whatever. And then I was like, what is happening? Something is seriously wrong.
That's so inefficient.
So I had to like look at the Nest thermostat, readjust it, because in the settings I couldn't do anything on the Nest app. I'm like, what the fuck's happening? Everything online is like, oh, you can just change it. So I had to reset that thermostat, and then it finally acknowledged that we had a gas furnace.
Okay.
And I could turn off my HVAC fan. So we already have a little bit of like water that dripped into the crawl space and stuff. It wasn't like catastrophic, but it fixed the issue.
Thank God.
Yeah,
flooding issue is not great.
I was a little annoyed.
First time moving.
But yeah, sorry to take.
What I was saying there,
sorry to go off
before I was rudely interrupted by that fly flying around your head, was the skeleton, the bones of the movie are great. Like, there's actually some really cool ideas. Like, just overall, even MCU connected ideas, the way that they use the overarching MCU storyline, I was like, oh, so cool. I think I might have made an audible gasp. I'm like, oh, neat. Like when they went that direction. they went in terms of connecting Captain America 4 into the MCU, the greater MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
And so that was like, wow.
Because they reference a shit ton of stuff.
Yeah. I was like, that's really cool. I'm really excited to see where this goes. And then it's just not executed well at all. So that's the moral of the story. Could it have been better? Heck yes.
Oh my God.
And what the hell is going on with the shield physics? That's another like, oh
dude. Yeah, like I guess we can say, yeah, like the fight choreography was pretty okay.
No, it's good if you just go in with blinders on. Like if you just watch the fight scenes separately on TikTok, no problem. They're great. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, that's cool.
Kenneth Stadabauer, when we left the theater, because we saw it with Ken, when we left the theater, when we were leaving the theater, he said the fight scenes were great though, right? And the choreography was good. And I was like, but it doesn't make sense in the confines of the universe that they're living in. So I can't like it. That's the problem with it. It ruins it for me. It reminds me of watching Companion. It's like, it's part of that movie was ruined for me because of the plot holes. And that was kind of the issue. Despite the oozing, the ooze of style that Companion has, it couldn't be as good as it could have been because there's so many oversights continually for no reason, in my opinion. This is like oversights. These are deeper oversights. I feel like they're worse than Companion, and that's why my score of this is going to be worse than Companion as well. But
yeah,
all right, Adrian, it's time to move on, I believe, to the montage, a sequence of our show in which I briefly present 7 of the bye-week's smaller news stories as Adrian delivers a brisk verdict. Number 1. According to publication Deadline, director Denis Villeneuve's third Dune movie will begin filming this summer.
Oh, nice. I don't know why. I just assumed that they weren't doing this for a long while. But cool.
Number 2. As reported by Deadline, Bruce Wayne star Robert Pattinson has revealed that director Matt Reeves will begin production on his The Batman sequel by the end of 2025.
God, I hope so. Oh my God. Hurry up. I want this goddamn movie, dude.
Number 3. As reported on by publication The Hollywood Reporter, Amazon has finally renewed Lord of the Rings TV series Rings of Power for its 3rd season. Shooting will begin this spring.
I haven't watched this. Did you like season 2?
I did.
Cool.
Number 4. In a fairly surprising statement made by Amazon's MGM Studios, longtime stewards and co-owners of the James Bond franchise, Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, have chosen to relinquish creative control of James Bond in order to focus on other projects. Creative control will go to their partners at Amazon MGM Studios.
Oh, this is actually really interesting because they've had their fingers in the James Bond pie for forever because they owned it and they get the say. So this is interesting.
Number 5. According to Deadline, director Martin Scorsese's next film will follow a Hawaiian mob boss and is set to star Leonardo DiCaprio, Emily Blunt, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The film is being described as Goodfellas meets The Departed in Hawaii.
Wow. I'll be honest. I don't really care.
Oh.
I'm sorry to say it.
Okay.
I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry.
Number 6. As reported by Deadline, Interstellar actor John Lithgow is in final talks to star as Headmaster Albus Dumbledore in the upcoming Harry Potter TV series over at HBO.
Oh, that's actually really cool. Fantastic. Let's do it.
Number 7. According to Deadline, Deadpool and Wolverine director Sean Levy and We Crashed showrunner Drew Crivello are developing a Dungeons & Dragons TV series based upon the popular D&D campaign, The Forgotten Realms.
Oh, interesting. It's a shame that we didn't get a sequel greenlit for that Chris Pine D&D movie. That was a good movie. That was fun.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. And that concludes the montage. Adrian.
Yeah.
Adrian.
How's it going?
I doubt that D&D TV series is going to be good. I'm going to say.
Why?
There's something about the idea of a non-comedy series, which I feel like this one will be. We'll see how it goes. But maybe they're going to do a full TV series that's a comedy action show like the movies. That's the way it would work. Actually, you know what? Maybe it will be because it's Sean Levy.
Yeah.
I saw We Crashed. I thought Drew Crivello would do something more serious. We Crashed was that situation about WeWork. You remember that?
No.
I think it was Anne Hathaway and Jared Leto in that show. It was about WeWork and how it crashed. It just didn't work. It was like it's like about a shared workspaces. Like people, they were like doing rented office space.
Was that Apple TV?
Yeah. Oh no. Good question. I think it was. Yeah, we crashed. It was like at the beginning, near the beginning of the Apple TV craze. No, it's Apple. No, not Apple TV. Prime Video. No, it is Apple TV. What the heck? It says Prime Video here. Did they outsource it and move it to? Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, like to be fair, like Ted Lasso is technically Warner Brothers as well.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Silo is AMC Studios. Very interesting.
Oh,
very weird.
Man. That is weird.
Yeah. So Shrinking's Warner Brothers as well, which makes sense. Bill Lawrence has a contract there, like the creator of Shrinking and Ted Lasso. But yeah. Anyway, I'm curious about this D&D thing. I if they don't do the comedy route again, I feel like it won't work. I just have this feeling that someone's going to start doing it or do it earnestly, like the World of Warcraft movie. And as soon as that happens, it's going to not work. D&D, like the guys over at the Dungeons and Dragons, like I guess it's Hasbro now, right? Hasbro owns it. Who owns D&D?
Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, but isn't
that Wizards owned by Hasbro?
I thought it was owned by Hasbro. Yeah, owns Wizards of the Coast. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just curious because they have a initiative to make more film and TV properties with D&D. They want to make more film and TV stuff. And I don't know. The problem with D&D, I've always said this. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but I have the problem with Dungeons and Dragons is that it does this thing where it's just basically using the Tolkienisms, like it's using like elves, dwarves, and orcs and all that stuff. It's just like World of Warcraft. That's not interesting. And you have to kind of work through that to make something interesting from a narrative perspective. And I feel like you're always on the back foot with that on an originality standpoint. And so comedy helps with that specifically. If you're playing it in a video game and you're making choices yourself, that could be different. But I feel like, or obviously at a tabletop RPG, but I feel like an actual plot line, it's kind of a yawn for me. I'm curious to see what they can do, but I think a comedy does work. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe they'll do something interesting on a dramatic perspective, and I'll be like, "Oh, cool, good job."
Hopefully,
but yeah. Adrian, it's time now to move on to the topic of the show for episode 104, a topic which concerns James Gunn's DC Cinematic Universe. Are you ready?
Can I do a bathroom break?
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay, I am. Okay, sorry. I'll be quick. Power P. Fuck. Okay, let's go. I'm back. I'm ready to poo. I'm freshly pooed.
Alrighty.
I power pooed.
Excellent. Are you ready?
Dude, I've never been more ready in my goddamn life, Simon.
Excellent. The DC Comics film and TV universe has often been quite disjointed in comparison to the much more put-together blockbuster colossus that is Disney's Kevin Feige-helmed Marvel Cinematic Universe. But in late 2022, it was announced that Aquaman producer Peter Safran and Guardians of the Galaxy filmmaker James Gunn would be instated as the co-CEOs of the DC film and TV universe, specifically with the mandate of bringing order and cohesion to DC cinematic storytelling on a much grander scale. In early 2023, Gunn announced his plan for the genesis of his newly formed DC cinematic universe, despite the Ezra Miller-led The Flash film and the Jason Momoa-led film Aquaman 2 not having premiered yet and not considered to be officially a part of the starting chapter of the DC universe, which Gunn had dubbed Gods and Monsters. Instead, Gods and Monsters was officially set to have begun with 2024's animated TV series Creature Commandos. According to Gunn, Creature Commandos, much like all animated series that would soon be found within the larger DC universe, would be designed to feature voice actors that would be carried over directly to any live action film or TV series that would air in the future. In other words, the DC universe will be designed in such a way that any official DC TV series and films would work cohesively together and feed from and to each other, whether they are live action, animated, TV series, films, and somehow even video games. But to continue the DC Extended Universe's tradition of unavoidably muddied waters, director Matt Reeves' The Batman universe, which includes the recently released, critically acclaimed The Penguin TV show on HBO, and director Todd Phillips' Joker movies with Joaquin Phoenix, are DC properties that aren't considered to be connected to the overarching DC universe, but instead unconnected properties branded as DC Elseworlds properties. So, the beginning of Gunn's connected DC universe was Creature Commandos Season 1, which aired in December of last year to much critical acclaim.
And to my acclaim.
Fair enough. Next up, it appears we'll get the David Cornsweet headlining film, Superman, with James Gunn writing and directing. This blockbuster film features a stacked cast of DC characters, including Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, Rachel Brosnahan playing Lois Lane, Nathan Fillion starring as the cocky Green Lantern Guy Gardner, and finally, Krypto, the Superdog. The movie is slated for a July 11th release date of this year. In January of 2023, Gunn had announced multiple other projects, but many of them don't seem to have gotten very far off the ground. Some of these MIA projects include a Viola Davis starring Amanda Waller-centered TV series, a film following the antics of the DC Comics anti-hero team known as The Authority, a Game of Thrones-like HBO series surrounding the political intrigue on Wonder Woman's home island of Themyscira, a DC horror-adjacent film following Swamp Thing, and the DC Universe-connected Batman movie Batman, the Brave, and the Bold, which was meant to be directed by the Flash director Andy Muschietti. The Green Lantern-focused HBO TV series Lanterns, on the other hand, is set to have entered production in February of this year, with various pieces of casting news having been announced for the project in recent weeks. The John Cena starring second season of Peacemaker has also wrapped production and is meant to air on Max in August of 2025. Additionally, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, still has a planned release date of June 2026, according to some media outlets. In closing, there is a lot riding on the summer release of James Gunn's upcoming Superman blockbuster. According to publication Variety, the recently released trailer for Superman has broken records for online trailer viewership when comparing its trailer view counts to any other DC or Warner Bros. Property to date. Over 250 million trailer views within a 24-hour period is absolutely nothing to scoff at. But one could also argue that to the average moviegoer, the DC Universe's planned overarching cinematic narrative is just as hazy now as it has been within the last 20 years. Can James Gunn right this ship and bring cohesion and concise marketing to an historically fragmented DC Universe? Time will tell. Adrian. I guess I'll just ask the same question as I did when we talked about Falcon in the winter. Falcon leaves the nest bravely. What do you think of this on a high-level perspective? What do you think of this universe? What comes to mind when you think of the new DC universe helmed by James Gunn and Peter Safran?
Yeah, man, this is interesting. So I've had the privilege that I watched Creature Commandos, technically the first entry into this DC Studios movie universe, and it was stellar. Like, it's great. You know, James Gunn, again, really knows how to make this ragtag group of characters very enjoyable to watch, and this seems like an interesting universe. And I think I mentioned it when I talked about it briefly, an episode or two ago, that show specifically references things that happened in the Suicide Squad as well as Peacemaker. So this universe, I mean, you ended it here. Can James Gunn right the ship and bring cohesion and concise marketing to a historically fragmented DC universe? I would argue, like, the cohesion and concise marketing, no, because even as someone that is invested and excited about what's to come, I'm still confused as to what this universe is and what is or isn't canon that has come before it. Because again, Creature Commandos is technically the first entry in this universe, but then there was also, like, when Blue Beetle came out, he mentioned that technically that might be a part of it. And then again, with references to the Suicide Squad, which is directly connected to the Snyderverse, and Peacemaker, which again is directly to the Snyderverse, and even has, I don't want to spoil it. I know, I get it. It is
it's
not
connected for sure to the old
it's
DC
not concise
universe.
Yeah, it's not concise and it's not cohesive. So that part of your question,
crazy.
No. But do I believe in James Gunn's ability to craft interesting stories and something that can be more than stellar? 100%. So, I am going to be cautiously optimistic in what is to come. But yeah, it's far from cohesive and concise. Far from it, dude. What's your perspective on this?
The thing is that it hasn't really begun yet. Like, they haven't even done a live action thing yet. But most people, I don't like. The thing about it is that the average moviegoer, that's the audience you want to pull in. You're going to get comic book fans, but you want to pull in everyone. You want to create an Avengers-like event with Superman. You want to keep doing that over and over again with certain films that people want to go watch and take their kids to and whatever. And maybe not. Some of them will be more mature. Like, I'm confused by the way he did the announcement, and I watched it 3 times or something like that to prepare this write-up here, and I found it so strange. My favorite thing that he said, though, I will say, is storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. I love that. Okay? That I'll give them that. But then he goes on to talk about the projects that haven't been launched yet, which was Aquaman and The Flash. And he talked about then Blue Beetle, which hadn't launched yet. And he's like, I love this movie. I love this movie. I love The Flash is what he said. He said, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. He described, that's how he described The Flash.
I still like The Flash.
So
like
do I.
Yeah.
Very controversial for some reason. People didn't like it. I don't really get it.
I think it's fun.
Anyway.
I think it's a really fun movie.
I think it was fun too. It was pretty good. It's more cohesive than Captain America 4, let me tell you.
Yeah, fuck, dude.
But hey, like, I don't know. It's an interesting situation. I'm just confused. Like, so like all the CW shows, right? All the Arrow, the Arrow show and the Flash show there, which was very popular, and the very, very well-reviewed Superman and Lois TV show was finally canceled, I think, last year, right? It was finally ended.
Yeah.
They just ended all of these things. There was supposed to be a Green Lantern, apparently a CW show by Greg Berlanti that was also canceled at some point. It's interesting because like he came in and then he's just like, we're going to make it cohesive and we're going to do it. But then he had prior commitments because obviously they spent millions of dollars making these other movies. So then they had to launch these other movies. And then he never mentions the Suicide Squad in that initial setup, but I think he should have done that. In my opinion, that video should have been this. Here is what's canon. Here's a chart. Here it is. The timeline started with the Suicide Squad. Not that it's my movie and that's why it matters, but there it is. There it starts. That's canon. That's canon. That's canon. That's canon. That's canon. Everything else is up in the air. It could be DC Elseworlds. Maybe we'll tie into it at some point with some kind of like multiverse of some sort. But for now, it's not in the canon. So Snyderverse, goodbye to you. Adios. Yeah. I love Batman versus Superman, but it's not a part of it. So it's a good personally, movie. I like it. And so like, then you're like The Flash, he kind of muddied the waters. Like, I love this movie. It's great. It's like, okay, but is it part of the thing though? Because you're announcing
he technically
the new
says
thing,
that
dude.
it resets the universe. So like, I'll give him that.
But then after
I think
Flash
that's my
is
thought
Aquaman,
process.
And then after The Flash is Blue Beetle. So you then have to say those aren't part of it then. That's your job. You're the marketing guy. I know it's hard.
Well, it's interesting too, because I never watched Aquaman 2, but I guess I don't really want to spoil. Let's say there's a cameo of a character that should be an Aquaman in the Flash movie, and apparently Aquaman 2 does not reference that happening from the Flash at all.
Great.
So
Great.
It adds to the confusion. And funnily enough, I stopped watching all the CW shows, but Ezra Miller's Flash shows up in the Flash TV show.
Which doesn't matter because those aren't canon. I think Flash is over.
But if the Flash is canon, then technically that's canon too. No, like I don't know. It's
Flash is not canon. I think Flash reset it in a way that's like not a soft reboot, like it's a reboot. Like it's reset as in that's the end. That's what I thought he was saying when I listened back. Like he's like saying that's where it ends. Maybe he'll come back to it at some point, but like there's some weird things that happen in that movie. They're like, okay, I can see this as a reset. And there is a kind of a multiverse thing going on with that. All these superhero things eventually become a multiverse. I think that's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, yeah. Well, one thing I'll say is this. I believe that the Superman movie, which by the way was initially called Superman Legacy, if you remember, no longer called that. I actually wrote Superman Legacy multiple times in my write-up because I knew that was the title, and then I had to change.
Forgot about that.
He just changed it to Superman. I actually prefer the name Superman Legacy. I think it sets it apart. But hey, you don't have to call it that.
I also forgot that he called this Gods and Monsters entirely. Yeah. When you read that, I was like, oh yeah, that's what he called this. I totally forgot about that.
The second show that he talks about, or actually the very first property he talks about when he second one after Creature Commandos was actually the Waller series with Viola Davis. Interestingly, the Waller series was supposed to be written and I'm not sure directed by the Waller. It's by one of the writers from Watchmen though is in the writers' room. It's Crystal Henry, and Doom Patrol, the Doom Patrol show guy Jeremy Carver. He's the showrunner for Doom Patrol. It's pretty good actually. Concept, but that was supposed to be the next show before Superman, and that didn't happen.
Never came out.
It's stuck in limbo.
It's
which is again,
though.
That's another point about the marketing. That's why I'm bringing this up. If you look at the fact that he announced all this stuff way too early, what are you doing? Like, why are you announcing it all? It's too early. Like, if you're going to try and be careful and try to hype people up, I don't know what the point of announcing it. I would just announce it on the show, a timeline, show this, and this is our plan. This, and this is not in it. But you can't do that because you can't devalue your Flash movie. But then you announced it in 2022. Why are you announcing it in 2022? Just wait until Flash and Aquaman is over. And then say I'm doing this. Nobody cares if you're working on this. Just tell us when Superman's coming out. Here it is. Like last year, at the end of last year, like, this is the DCU, Gods and Monsters, Chapter 1. Here it is. There we go. Why are you telling us in 2022? I don't get it.
Yeah.
How is that a good marketing? I just personally...
Well, it isn't. And that's why The Flash and Aquaman 2 did very poorly in the box office.
Right.
And arguably even the Suicide Squad. To be fair, the Suicide Squad
chopped their legs out before they came out.
Yeah. The Suicide Squad did bad, but that was released on Max, HBO Max at the exact same time. So that definitely played a factor in that too. But yeah, it is interesting. The whole Viola Davis, starring Amanda Waller series is also just like an odd thing to announce. Like, she is in Peacemaker. She's in Creature Commandos as well. It's like, what the fuck else is she up to?
Well, she's important to think because that organization's interesting.
Yeah.
She's
in the Suicide
espionage.
Squad.
She runs a spy organization, though. It could be cool to see like her like actually just running spies and a superhero, almost like The Boys. Like you can create like, you know what I mean? It's not like The Boys, but you know what I mean? Like humans, what are the humans doing while the superheroes are running amok? I think that's where the supervillains are running amok. That could be very interesting. That's what I think he was kind of insinuating this from what I heard him say, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It could be good, but it just it seems to be still in the works. Like, it's not canceled. It's just not around. And there's nothing about it because the Lanterns TV series has a cast now. That looks awesome. And that has we must have talked about this already, but the people involved in that one, you know who's involved, right? In that one, and they're calling it True Detective-esque in nature. It's like True Detective in space. And it's Watchmen's. I'm saying Watchmen's, but really we love the leftovers. Damon Lindelof and Ozark showrunner Chris Mundy are writing that. Those are the showrunners theoretically. They didn't really say the showrunners, but I'm thinking it's them. And then it's Aaron Pierre as Jon Stewart, Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan. They've got a pretty cool thing going on with that because it's HBO and that's literally the network that has True Detective. So to have a True Detective in space, I'm in for that. I feel like that's the neat thing too, is like, I think it's Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan as like the partners, like in the True Detective type detective mystery. I think that would be really cool. That one I'm very intrigued by because that's in the works and they're filming it now. So I'm in on that one. But yeah, I'll also say this. Actually, sorry, I'll pass it to you. Do you have anything else?
No, please continue.
I got too many notes here.
Please read your notes.
The Wonder Woman game just got a reboot. Was that Wonder Woman game rebooted because it's being because of narrative parody? Is what I have here as a note. Are they bringing it into a narrative that works within the DCU? What the hell was he talking about when he's saying that he's going to try to merge games with movies and TV? That's such a crazy undertaking because WB Games, not the greatest of the publishers. No offense to them. They just don't seem to get it right. It's like on a creative perspective.
It's a fucking shit show there. But they also announced, it was leaked. Jason Schreier from
Bloomberg,
released an article mentioning about that Wonder Woman game being canceled. But then he also mentioned that Rocksteady, who just recently released this Suicide Squad game, is back to make another Batman Arkham game.
Right.
So it's
is that connected?
Well, the Arkham universe, I think it's supposed to take place in the Arkham game universe, which is technically
maybe maybe not. I don't know. Like, is he serious about trying to connect them, or is he discover
I feel
after a few months in being in charge of this position that Warner Brothers executives are already meddling with his shit? Because that was the thing I was worried about, is that, like, I don't know. I'm worried that because the problem is always with these big studios is that they meddle. They meddle.
David Zaslav seems to be like a fucking dunce, dude. Like, he's like running Warner Brothers into the ground. So
is he? Is it different than what it was before? I don't know.
Arguably,
he didn't greenlight the Suicide Squad game. He didn't. Yep. That's not him. Like, all the stuff that's happened now is nothing to do with David Zaslav, right? The greenlit, like, he greenlit Dune 2, Part 2, and he greenlit Part 3. Like, I don't know. It's a tricky one. Like, he also let Matt Reeves cook. He's been able to make his. I don't know what's taking so long. I never thought we would get the second Batman movie after we got 2 Dune movies, which I just thought that would not happen, because I feel like the Batman is possibly a smaller budget than any Dune movie. No, I don't think he's going to do another one. I think that's the last Dune movie for Denis. I think he's done.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, we might get 3 Dune movies before we get the second Batman movie.
Well, but Dune Part 1 came out before the Batman, right? Or am I wrong?
I don't remember. I feel like
I'm trying to see. There's no Dune 4, but yeah, I know what you're saying. If it was before, then you're right. Maybe it's 3 Dune movies before. You're right. That's what I'm trying to say, though. We're gonna get Dune Part 3 for 100% before we get the Batman, because it's filming in the summer, and Matt Reeves' Batman movie is filming in this spring. Sorry,
Dune Part 1 did come out before Dune or Batman.
Matt Reeves' Batman movie is filming at the end of the year. Sorry, and Dune, the Bat Reeves-verse. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one, but I will say everything lives and dies on the Superman movie. It literally, if it fails, it's over. It's like, it reminds me of, like, Zack Snyder's universe. When Batman vs. Superman came out, things also happened. He had a family emergency and stuff like that ruined things on the Justice League front. But, like, I think when Batman vs. Superman did very bad critically and didn't do super well commercially, I think that also just kind of took the legs out from under him. Like, it kind of ruined it a little bit. They're like, over at Warner Brothers, they're like, I don't know about this anymore.
I agree. I don't think they would have made the Justice League movie if it wasn't already being shot, because he went right into the Justice League as soon as Batman v Superman was done.
Right, he started so that could be a thing too. So that's an interesting thing. So I'm hoping Superman is good. And one thing to say about Superman is that Superman is a different tone than the last few movies he's directed. James Gunn's directing this movie, and he wrote it. I will say, like, Creature Commandos sounds like another Suicide Squad, doesn't it? Like, isn't it the Suicide Squad again? It's a bunch of misfits come together. It's kind of a comedy, kind of an action thing, right?
Guardians.
So think about all the movies you've seen that James Gunn has made in the last 10 years. Where is the style change for Superman? Is it going to be more serious? Is it going to be more dramatic? Have we ever seen that from James Gunn in 10 years? It's so interesting.
I feel like James Gunn is a master of balancing the more comedy dramatic and sad. Because, dude, Guardians 3, like, Guardians 3 is very phenomenal. It's so emotional. Emotional depth, I was just talking about it with my fiance, and she's like, I never want to watch that movie again. It's so sad. And I'm like, I would watch it again. It's not like a Black Panther 2 sort of situation where I'm like, I literally will not watch this movie again. But like Guardians 3, like, there's so much levity and hilariousness, but it is one of the saddest fucking things. It is the saddest movie in the MCU, arguably, after Black Panther 2. So, yeah, it's interesting, man. And, like, I'm also curious about, like, Andy Muschietti, because after the Flash, like, is he still going to do Batman? Like, did they just go like, no, you can't do that? To be fair, I think he's doing a lot of the It TV show, if I recall correctly. I don't know if he's directing it, but I think he has his hands in that It TV show.
I don't know if he's going to be asked to come back, because it just doesn't.
Probably not, unless the It TV show does well, in which case maybe. But
yeah. Oh, when we were talking about Captain America 4, another director who's just kind of not that known when he got the Black Panther movie was Ryan Coogler, actually. Like he doesn't have that many movies under his belt before that, and he did Black Panther with such confidence. Like it's clearly directed with confidence. Anyway, I don't want to go back to that
Yeah.
conversation, but I mentioned a bunch of directors that had confidence that were kind of relatively unknown, and that's another one that just like hit it big after Black Panther, especially. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm super curious. Like this is a curious one. I like that trailer for Superman. Looks really good
Great.
from my perspective. I think that going back to John Williams' like music composition, like from the 1978 Superman movie, I think that's a great choice as well. Like that's really, really great. Like I think it just like hits a nostalgic feeling that a lot of people I'm sure love who've watched that trailer. Should they have a dog in that? I don't think so. But anyway, that's my perspective.
In the movie?
I don't know if I like the idea of the cryptos in it. I think it's a bit silly.
Oh, I love it. I'm a fan of that.
It's silly. It's
Give me
silly.
dog. Give me dog.
Like, the other question is like the thing I'm most excited about is the Batman movie inside this. A lot of people have asked 100 times, is Robert Pattinson's Batman going to be in this? And James Gunn, of course, said no. Like I'm sure 3 times on social media. I like how transparent James Gunn is on social media about things like this. But I find it interesting because this question has kept coming up, and they don't seem to have anybody cast for the Batman movie. And I feel like the Batman movie is the most interesting part of DC in general. Anything Batman, I'm in. Everything else is like, take it or leave it. We'll see if it's good. But I'm there day one for anything Batman. And I think that's a lot of people because Batman's one of the most like popular characters of all time. I think. I don't think like
he is
Spider-Man.
Like I was just gonna say it's like maybe just Spider-Man.
Yeah, like maybe Mickey Mouse. I think is pretty
from
popular.
Kingdom Hearts. Yeah,
of course. Like he's just such a popular character. And so, like, can you tell us who that is? Like, that's supposed to be starring Damian Wayne, like Bruce Wayne's son. If you remember that,
yeah.
Apparently, I think he's like a little sociopath, and he's got to like.
Yeah, he's a psycho killer.
Yeah. Anyway, so
they're definitely
I'm curious
that song in that movie.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's it. Pretty much. That's all I got. That's all I got for you, I think. But
that's it. That's all, baby. Also, the Supergirl movie, Woman of Tomorrow, because they have what's her name, Millie Alcock from House of the Dragon that we were talking about earlier.
Was she cast?
Supergirl. Yeah,
they cast her.
She's
right, she's cast. Right, she's cast in the Superman movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. So they already cast her. That's cool. That plot line's neat because she's like as James Gunn describes it, she grows up on a tiny rock of Krypton that's split apart, and she watches her whole family die. So she grows up there where Superman like grows up in wherever Utah or wherever Kansas or wherever the heck he lives, somewhere on a farm. So like the different like perspectives of like nature and nurture type situation. I guess they're both the same nature, but nurtured differently. Bam. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I'm in until
I'm excited.
Out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm in. I'm in anyway. I just think that it's going to live or die on Superman because he didn't do a good job prepping it. And I don't know how you can do a good job prepping it when you prep it starting in 2022. That's the kind of the moral of the story.
Yeah.
So I think you need to, I don't know. I just hope that, did you ever hear about how he doesn't really love the Nolan Batman movies, James Gunn?
No, I haven't.
Like actually. Over 10 years ago, though, to be fair, just to be completely fair to him, he posted on some social media site, I think it was Facebook. He posted that he doesn't like 1989 Michael Keaton Batman at all. He seemed to not like it at the time. And then he said that Nolan's Batman Begins is not really a good movie or something like that. And like when that happened and he was instated as the head of DC, there was like a hubbub like, remove James Gunn. It's so stupid. It's so pathetic. Of course, I'm sure it was like the Snyderverse like fans, they'll come to the table to try and get it removed. So for their freaking ridiculous hopium of getting Snyder back in charge for some reason.
The Snyder cut.
I just thought it was really out of touch that he didn't like Nolan's Batman movies. That was the only thing when I saw that, I'm like, that's really weird. And I'm wondering, like, could he do a darker movie? Because I don't really, most of his movies that are darker are more campy, like Slither from my perspective. So I really want to see what his universe is for, like something like the Lantern show or the Themyscira, like Game of Thrones style type show. That sounds really great. Or the Waller show, or Peacemaker is still campy, still a comedy. Like, he's not made anything that I can say is like a True Detective. True Detective is very serious. Like, it's a very self-serious thing. There's not a lot of humor in it. If you remember, I don't know if you watched True Detective season 1. Oh, okay. It's a good show. Season 1 specifically.
Do you recommend that to me, Sam?
Hit and miss. Not today. Not today. I'll pick something to recommend to you eventually. But anyway, that's it. I'm very excited. We're going to watch Superman arguably in theaters as it comes out. And I'll watch Creature Commandos. I try to watch it before the Superman movie. If I can, I can't get it on a streaming service. I got to get freaking Stack TV to
just
watch
do
it.
the free trial.
Stupid.
Deal with the 7 minutes of ads per 23-minute episode.
But I'll give you this before we leave, just to kind of close this off. What is your most anticipated thing in this new DC Universe chapter, Gods and Monsters? What's the thing that you're most excited about? And then if you pick Superman, by the way, pick something else as well. Yeah, it could be Superman. That's fine.
I guess like technically Superman just out of curiosity, because that is the official jump. I mean, technically, again, Creature Commandos. I would say probably Peacemaker season 2, I guess, if that counts, just because I'm curious on how they're going to deal with.
Not, by the way, announced
universe.
In that announcement video. Not even announced in the announcement video. So weird, because that show was so popular. HBO was probably like, hey, guy, what are you doing? You got this hit. What are you doing? Do it. And he's like, well, no, I'm not. That's not the plan. Like, I'm sure Peacemaker might have been in the Waller series. Like, no, not the Waller series. Peacemaker. I bet you anything that's what happened. Because it's like, that's why I'm thinking there's maybe meddling. But yeah, the most anticipated thing for me is probably Lanterns, actually. Or the Batman thing. I am excited about Superman as well. I just didn't want to give a cop-out answer here. But I'm just curious. I don't know. I wanted to win. I wanted to do really well so we can see something compete. Because then it would also keep Marvel on their toes, who's picking some weird creatives to make their stuff, because it doesn't seem like they're not excelling at the moment. It's like every second Marvel movie is like, or TV show is like, is that good? You tell me.
Captain America 4, not good. I'll just say it. Not good. Very disappointing.
All right, sir. Sorry, what'd you say?
Very disappointing.
Oh, yeah. Indeed. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Now on to a segment of our show that I like to call a look to the future.
Wow.
A portion of our podcast where each of us present our 3 picks for the TV series or movies that look most interesting to us, that are releasing between the dates of February 25th and March 10th, 2025. Adrian, I'll let you go first, as is customary.
Okay, I'll go first, Simon. So this is a movie which I'm quite sure is about a little mouse, and there's 17 of them in there, called Mickey 17, releasing March 7th. Dude. I think it's about Mickey Mouse, and he just continuously dies and gets brought back as a different Mickey over the years. And
it's the only Mickey you know.
Yeah. No. I'm saying that in jest. No, Mickey 17, Robert Pattinson starring Bong Joon-ho movie. Previews seem to be very positive. I think it's rated quite well. Looks like a fun time. I think we talked about it in episodes prior. I think this is one of your most anticipated movies of the year, Simon. So I wanted to steal it from you.
It is, yeah. We'll see. We'll see if it's good. 88% on Rotten Tomatoes as of yesterday. So it should be interesting. Cool cast. Pretty cool. Guy dies over and over again in space. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it is.
I hope so.
The last trailer was pretty solid too. So
I don't know if I watched it. Maybe, no, I did. I did watch it. Still don't really know what the movie's about. I'm gonna go in. I'm excited. Let's do it. Indeed. You and me? Yeah. Mickey 17.
Indeed.
We got to round up 15 more people, and then 17 of us can go watch it.
It's interesting. So the last movie we saw from Bong Joon-ho was Parasite in theaters, right? But we saw it in a theater that's like a small theater. Mickey 17 looks like it's going to be released worldwide, which is really cool. So you see how you win an Oscar, and now you're making a blockbuster that everyone wants to watch. So he's also got, he's got big name actors in this, and a bunch of things.
To be fair, because when did Snowpiercer come out? Was that when Chris Evans was?
That didn't really come to theaters, and did it come widely? I don't think so. I
I
watched
don't
that
know.
on
I watched
streaming.
that on streaming. Jinx.
Yeah. That had big actors in it too, but I don't think it ever
Because
hit the
2013,
same way.
Chris Evans. It was the year after Avengers. Chris Evans is already pretty big.
Yeah.
Tilda
And then he's
Swinton's
got
in it.
Okja
Oh
on
yeah, the
Netflix.
Netflix movie. That was
But it never
sad.
came to theaters.
That was a good one too.
Yeah.
I also want to watch The Host, which is like the big frog monster thing, the Korean movie. It's like a frog tadpole
Wait, that's
thing
Bong
killing
Joon-ho?
people. Yeah,
Oh.
2003, I
Oh.
think.
Oh, never watched that one.
It's on Tubi.
Tubi. Good old Tubi. Where did Tubi come from?
I have no idea. 2006.
They're like all the big giant networks were like, we're gonna all make a streaming service, and then Tubi comes along and says, "Me too." Like, where did you come from, bro? Why are you competing against Peacock and like
Tubi's been around
Amazon
for a while.
Prime Video and Netflix and like HBO Max, which is Max, by the way. What a dumb name! Can we get over how stupid the name is? If you were talking about it in a sentence and you said, "Do you have Max?" It just sounds stupid. If anything, that's a stupid David Zaslav decision.
Yeah.
David Zaslav comes in and says, I got to put my name on this. Let's call it Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like taking one of the most popular social media platforms and changing the name to that too.
Basically. It basically did that.
Yeah.
Which is 2 letters less. But anyway, all right. We got my pick is Daredevil Born Again, Adrian. It premieres on March 4th. It stars Charlie Cox as the titular character. And we've got Vincent D'Onofrio returning as Wilson Fisk.
Oh, okay.
AKA Kingpin. I forgot his name for a second. I was going to say big man in white dress.
I'll be honest with you. I was panicking because I thought you were waiting for me to say something. I was like, I cannot think of it right now.
Why is it? It's like, I'm still thinking, Motorcade, Adrian.
Oh my God.
I just realized that was the spoiler portion of the Captain America 4 review we just did. And no one will know from this episode what I'm talking about. But I was talking about a motorcade. Yeah. President's Motorcade, and I completely couldn't think of that word. I was thinking cavalcade. I'm like, that's not the word at all. Not even related. Anyway.
I said President's Mobile.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Okay, no your pick is next. What are you picking? What are you excited for? TV show, movie? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I will. I'll talk about, I think it's the last 2 episodes of Invincible on February 28th and March 7th for season 3. So pretty excited about that. Talked about it earlier. Cool. I'll watch it.
That's exciting. All right. I'm going to go with Reacher season 3 is on episodes 2 and 3.
You ever watch any of the Reacher shows?
I didn't, but this show, man.
It's rated well.
Yeah. It's a 97% of Rotten Tomatoes. We were just talking about, Batman for like Brave and the Bold. There was a lot of rumors that Alan Ritchson would play Bruce Wayne. I thought that was a pretty cool choice, but at a certain point, he's going to get aged out. I'm not sure. Are they going to do a younger Batman is the question? Well, I guess not, because he's got a kid. But I would like to see Alan Ritchson, because that guy's big. Like, he's it's cool. That was the neat thing about Ben Affleck's Batman. He was a big dude, and you can believe that guy was Batman. You could believe
he's going to beat the shit out of people. I really like Alan Ritchson. And it's crazy to see like the roles that he's been in, but I loved him in the old show Blue Mountain State, which I guarantee you has not aged well. But his character Thad Castle is so fucking funny, dude. That show is brilliant. It's awful. Like it's a bro show, for lack of a better term, with like, very awful humor. But goddamn, is Thad such a brilliant character, and he's played by Alan Ritchson. Yeah. Love it.
But yeah, I'm almost tempted to go into this. Like, I've watched the Jack Reacher movies with Mr. Tom Cruise.
Never watched it.
But I have not seen this, which I'm tempted because it's 97%. That's a very high score. But yeah, what's your next pick, sir?
I'll keep it simple, Simon. I talked about this earlier as well. Love is Blind. The last few episodes going to be coming out February 28th, and the reunion episode on March 7th. and watch those with my fiance. So
You
excited
didn't get too
about
creative with your picks here. You picked a bunch of episodes that are airing. You said last week that you'd be like, "Oh, I don't want to pick things that are coming out because that seems like a cop out." And then you just did that twice.
I'm copping out this week, Simon. I'm in a different mood. I was busy
I took Daredevil from you, didn't I?
You did, you son of a gun. I have it written here.
I knew it. I can barely read that. Yeah, I can't even read it. Just get it away from this. Get it away from the camera. Okay.
Can't even read.
The last one, I'm not going to cop out. I was gonna maybe do Severance, but I'm not going to do that. There's actually a movie called The Last Breath coming out with Simu Liu.
With Simu Liu and Woody Harrelson. The guy that plays the guy from Atypical. He plays the guy with autism.
You didn't know what I was talking about at all. But it didn't look interesting to you at all, and that's why you didn't want to mention it?
Yeah. Oh,
okay. That's fair. Anyways, it's coming out February 28th. It's February 28th release, sir. And so it looks interesting. Looks interesting. You know what movie's really good? Oh, man. Forgot the name of it. It came out a few years ago and is completely overlooked. It was a Ron Howard directed movie. This movie is basically about these guys go. Woody Harrelson's team member they're all deep sea divers, and he loses a team member because they got untethered and they have to go save him. That seems to be what the plot of this movie is. Mm-hmm. You know what movie I'm talking about from Ron Howard, though?
I don't know the name, but I remember you talking about it.
Yeah, did I talk to you about it on Split Focus, a film and TV podcast, or did I tell you in person?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Talk outside this podcast. My innie. This is just me.
Yeah, I only talk to your Audi outside this podcast.
Yeah.
But no, it is an excellent movie. Man, where is that now? Where are you?
I feel like there's numbers in
Rotten Tomatoes. Yes, you're correct. Yeah, there is a number in it. 13 Lives. Very good movie. It's about I believe it was in Thailand. The kids get trapped in the cave, and then the cave floods. And then they send down like people from all over the world, like divers, like professional deep sea divers or like cave divers. They go into this one place and they're diving to save these kids.
This was recent, right? Wasn't this the thing that, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the real life event. And then Elon Musk wanted to send down some of his stuff. And then he called the people pedophiles for wanting to save the kids.
Yeah, he called the guy mapping who like was like a professional who mapped the caves. He called him pedophile for some reason. It's like, God, what are you talking about? Because he was going to send the submarine. He was going to build a submarine. It's like, you're not going to do this in time. Like, they're not dying down there. They're not going to have like, soon they're not going to have any air and they don't have any food. Like, what are you going to send a submarine to go save them? It's so stupid. And the submarine wouldn't have fit. If you watch the movie, it wouldn't. I don't know if that movie is not accurate, but there's no way the submarine would fit down there. But the movie is excellent. I really think that was one of the best movies of that year. It's rated fairly highly. It just got completely overlooked by the award shows. I don't know why. It's confusing because Ron Howard has won or been nominated for various awards at the Oscars. So I don't know. Anyway, it's Viggo Mortensen and Colin Farrell and Joel Edgerton. So it's excellent. I recommend it greatly. Viggo Mortensen, every role he's in, he just blends into the role. Honestly, Colin Farrell's too. Colin Farrell's the same way. If you look at The Penguin, but a lot of like movies I've seen or TV shows I've seen with Colin Farrell, he just blends in. But Viggo Mortensen is like completely just becomes the character. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's awesome.
This is a total aside, and I don't want to keep you too much longer here, Simon. But they released the trailer for A24's Friendship movie starring Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
That looks amazing. I'm very excited about this. Right. But it's funny, when I watched the trailer, you know what it reminded me of? The movie Banshees of Inisherin with Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson.
I never thought that when I saw the trailer for Friendship.
I watched it. I was like, this. I feel like this is very similar in premise to that movie.
Banshees of Inisherin is a great movie.
Yeah,
that is a great movie too, man. Another Colin Farrell
like that movie a lot. It's a movie I wouldn't recommend to most people, but I really enjoyed it. Like, it's so absurd,
maybe I wouldn't recommend it either because it's a bit slow, I suppose. It's like Oscar. It's more artsy. I guess that's why I wouldn't recommend it. But other than that, like it's awesome.
It's hilarious.
It's crazy.
That movie's so funny. Yeah, I know, dude. I was like, what? Yeah. I remember I explained because like my fiance, she was like, I'm never gonna watch this. uh, like she didn't want to, and I was like, yeah. So I explained the premise to her and like the plot beats, and she's like, "What the fuck?" Like she's like, I never want to watch this. I'm like, yeah, you
It's
don't.
interesting because like there's a there's a guy in our lives who like ghosted me. Now I'm just thinking back to that. Like it's kind of similar to that. It's like a ghosting movie, but in like in a different way. It's a very interesting movie. It's just like if you were on an island and you you had no choice. But this guy who ghosted me in real life, though, it was I guess a friend of ours. Like he
ghosted me too. He like R-bombed me. Like, I know multiple times. I'm like, what the fuck?
The crazy, you read receipted me too. I don't understand what the heck. Just turn off your read receipts, dude. But like the funny thing about it is like he used to work with me and he lives in the area, and I just missed him. He went to the store that I worked at like he just so happened to go on my day off, and I'm wondering if like he had someone scope out the area. Like what are the chances? I worked there like every day. I'm like, it was weird that he knew, because if I had seen him, I wonder if I would have walked up to him and it would have been a Banshees of Inisherin moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, regardless, yeah, Banshees
like,
of Inisherin.
What the hell?
Yeah, you just
like,
would have walked
just shoot
away
me.
From me.
Just say like, no, I don't want to talk. At least Brendan Gleeson's character had the he was willing to say that he didn't want to be friends.
Yeah, just say the honest truth.
Yeah,
like, all I can take it. I can take it. Yeah. Cool, man. That's it. I also had here written here, although we would only pick 3 picks. I just have it as an honorable mention because you picked nothing. What? I'm kidding. But no. Don't make that face at me. I'm not serious. But regardless of that, there's an ABC procedural show that Dawn loves, my fiance. And it's coming back for part 2 of its season 8. I'm doing this for Dawn so she watches our episode. No, I'm kidding. Mm-hmm. But it is interesting because this show, see if you can guess what show it is. It's a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is very high. It's a procedural show, about firefighters, first responders, and police officers.
It's Chicago?
911.
Oh.
You've never heard of it at all? Oh.
Maybe I have.
It's a show also produced by Ryan Murphy. I don't know if you know who Ryan Murphy is.
Name rings a bell. I could not tell you who he is.
It's like the American Crime Story. Wait, he's American Horror Story, I think, as well. But he also made the Monsters series. Like the one with Jeffrey Dahmer, and then he recently did which we saw actually. We watched both of them. We watched the Monsters, the Menendez brothers story, and we watched the Ryan Murphy. His name isn't coming up. Come on, buddy. Come on, you can do it.
Ryan Murphy Television.
I'm pretty sure it's American Horror Story. Am I wrong?
He did Glee, American Horror Story, American Crime Story, Pose. Yeah,
he's on a roll.
9/11.
He's like one of those
9/11 Lone Star.
He's like Shonda Rhimes. He's like one of these people that like just destroy in terms of like really well watched stuff. Like Shonda Rhimes kills it with Bridgerton and Grey's Anatomy, various other things. But yeah, anyway, 911.
Oh my God! So such a random aside, Simon. Again, we're
about to wrap it up. We're about to wrap it up. This is the last your last.
Because you mentioned Grey's Anatomy, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned Grey's Anatomy, and one of the main songs in that show. I don't know if you know this, is "How to Save a Life" by The Fray. Oh. Okay. Did you know this?
No.
The Fray, "How to Save a Life."
I know the song.
That's a common song in Grey's Anatomy, and they have a tour. Cool. Right? They're in Toronto coming up in August on the 7th. Okay. And the reason I know this, not that I dislike the Fray, honestly, I like some of their songs, but I don't listen to them. But there's a band I really love called The Strike, and they're opening for the Fray. And my fiance got the notification that they're coming to Toronto, and we looked. I'm like, what the fuck? The tickets are already sold out. It's just verified reseller tickets, like $180 higher. I'm like, what the hell? Like this band, like, I mean, they're not huge. Like I really like them. They're not huge. And then it's like, I realized because they're the opener for the Fray. I was like, that's kind of disappointing because I just want to see the Strike.
Oh, but I thought you're going to connect it to Grey's Anatomy in a deeper way there.
No, just the Fray.
Okay.
That's all I got for you.
All right.
It's been a slice.
It's been a slice. All right, buddy. it's time now to close this episode off. If you like us and you like listening to our podcast, please subscribe to us? Question mark. You know,
do it.
You can follow us. You can download our episodes on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and all the places that you can get podcasts. If you don't want to, don't. I don't really care, honestly. But regardless of that,
I do. You stupid bitch. If you don't fucking subscribe or follow us, Simon will go to your house and kill you. He'll kill you.
Why would I do it? I just said I don't care.
He'll kill you in your goddamn sleep.
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up.
Yeah, I know. You don't care. You don't care about their lives. That's how much you don't care. You don't care about their lives and them living.
Whoa.
So you're going to go there and murder them.
Whoa. I don't think that's what I'm saying. But
you might be.
I'm not.
They won't know. They won't know listening. Now they're terrified. They're shaking in their boots. They're subscribing. They're telling their friends to subscribe. They just called 911. Telling the 911 operator to subscribe to our podcast.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna end it now. So thanks for that insight. Thank you for listening, folks, to episode 104 of Split Focus, a film and TV podcast. My name is Simon Eady, and this is Adrian Pinter signing off.
Take care and goodbye. Thank you for listening. Someone's gonna kill you in your sleep if you don't subscribe. You're dead.
That's not true. Goodbye.
You're fucking dead. I'm telling you right now. You're a dead person. You think you're still alive? You're not subscribed to this. You're a ghost.
You're ASMRing death threats now? It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. I disapprove of this message. Goodbye.